The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Barbecue cookouts, summer baseball games, Thanksgiving dinner, and you might as well add short track oval racing to that list of uniquely homegrown American traditions. Today, the Pacific Majors takes on this grassroots style of racing at one of the Northeast's popular venues, Oxford Plains Speedway. Jason Fleischle continues to lead the Mario Andretti's Drivers' Championship. There are still 3 rounds left to decide who takes home the crown. There will undoubtedly be some bent fenders and tested patience around the tight confines of this course, but we'll see who can come out on top as we get ready to watch the Volt Vapes 250, round 11 of the Pacific Majors, and you're watching it live on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight are Trevor Cameron and our short track aficionado, Chris Scala. Behind the scenes is our director, Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Chris, you've witnessed a number of races here through the Bootleg Racing League who run the modifieds. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what this track has in store?
Well, Joe, we have an awesome track on our hands here. It's a 0.37 mile track, and when I say this track has no straightaways, literally, there are no straightaways. Picture a football in front of you and cars running around a football. Literally, that's what we have here this evening. 9 degrees of banking, no walls in the corners. So basically, you get off the track, you are literally flying off the track, but just a lot of fun in store. Short track racing, 250 laps of racing. But first, we have a B main actually being set up here that we're going to be running here in just a couple minutes of 100 laps. That'll set up that 250 lap A main race tonight in the super late model. We got very tight racing tonight. You're going to see 35 cars when it's all said and done in this A main running around a 0.37 mile track. So you're going to see battle after battle after battle. We got great racing tonight, and let's take a look at a lap around Oxford Plains, and we'll show you how tight it really is going to be.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global Sim Racing Channel. I'm Brian Yazik in the GSRC Super Late Model. Here we are at Oxford Plains Speedway, a little unique track. Across the line, down into turn 1. The thing to keep in mind about Oxford Plains is that you never, ever stop turning left. You just kind of float it in here to the corner. Don't get too low to that apron. You'll kick the left side way up in the air and really upset the balance on your car. Back down, and that's the other thing, is because you're turning in so aggressively and you go under braking, the rear of the late model is going to want to snap around on you. So the winner tonight is going to be the one that can balance this out pretty much the best. I mean, here you go, you float, you don't really come out towards the wall. This track is probably about the most unique short track in all of the iRacing service. Back out here, don't let it float all the way out, back down into the corner again. It's a very dizzying couple laps around here. Back out again to the start-finish line. Back, you're basically aiming for that curbing, but you don't want to hit it. That's the best way to really kind of get through the corners here. Back out into the back stretch for the final time here. Down into the corner, let it float, roll into the throttle, out of the corner, across the line, and that's going to complete our track guide here around Oxford Plains Speedway. I'm Brian Yazik. Enjoy the show.
So that should give you an idea of how frantic it's going to be with just one car out on there. Now imagine it with 30 more cars out on track trying to circle their way around. Now, let's talk about the championship. First up, let's talk about the Mario Andretti Drivers' Championship. Obviously, as I said in the intro, Jason Fleischle is leading the way there. However, he is not driving today, and he is basically taking his final oval drop since this is the final oval round and really wasn't to his taste, so he was taking advantage of the opportunity to be able to just kind of let it slide and do what he can from there in the 2 rounds after this one. Brian Barnes is in second, about 123 points back, which means Jason still is going to have a comfy lead after this, even without showing up with his drop weeks coming into play. Jimbo Pfeiffer is in third, 155 points back from Jason. He's dropped down a position. And then Mike Franklin has moved up into fourth. He's 298 back from Jason, with Rob Gall slipping down to fifth. He is 302 points back from our leader. Quite a bit of a spread, but that's to be expected this late in the season. Let's go over to the Constructors' Championship, where I believe that Chris has the update for there.
Yeah, we got a pretty interesting battle shaping up here with Alliance Racing. They lead right now by 166 points over the Mountain West team. You got Dog Bear Racing Blue there, 264 points back. And then a real tight battle here for the 4th position between Ride Shotgun and NKH Racing, 4th and 5th. Actually, Ride Shotgun fell after the last round, down to the 4th position there, and NKH rising up to 5th. So real tight battle. I know the points seem like they're really separated there, but obviously anything can happen in these kind of races when you have multiple cars. So these points are a lot tighter than it might really look.
And then, of course, the last of the ones that we're going to tell you about here in the intro, we might be able to cover some of the multiple other championships that they have in store in this series, and that is the Governor's Cup. Trevor, what are the various states and clubs looking like there?
Well, as you know, Joe, we have the Governor's Cup is basically broken down into the regions, and everybody competing against each other for dominance for their particular region. And the battle at the top is flipping and flopping every single week, I swear, between Texas and Northwest. And as of right now, Texas does have the advantage with 8,706 points. That, of course, is the kind of leaders in that group are Franklin, Lane, and Slavonic, and the Northwest group fell down to second, but again, that seems to be going back and forth. They're only 23 points back right now. That has Barnes, Pfeiffer, and Hutchinson are the main guys over on that team. West is a distant third at 386 points back with Fleischle, Gall, and Dreiling, and of course, back in fourth we have California, who has kind of been back in the rear for most of the time with a 1,946 point deficit. Of course, they have Lionel Callisto, Beltrami, and Smith. And Callisto, of course, is everybody who knows, who watches these races. He's a favorite of mine. I like to see Lionel succeed, but he's back down there in the California group there, Joe.
Yeah, California's got a ways to go, unfortunately. Now, with this series running all different types of racing, all different types of tracks, all different types of cars, that means we have all different types of fans. So they may not be familiar with short track racing and the format of that. So for this first B main, what are we looking at, Chris? What is the race format looking like?
Well, it's a really simple deal. And these are basically to explain how short track racing is set up, Joe. With the mains and stuff, this is basically the B main is the guys who have not made the main race yet. And it's almost like a last chance to get the guys into this race. So we're going to have a lineup of cars trying to get into the main race. They're going to go 100 laps coming up here in a couple minutes. And 9 cars, the top 9, will advance from this B main to the 250 lap feature coming up in about an hour or so. But basically, that's the way it's shaped up. You come, you bring your best and bring your A game to try to get into the A main, and that's the way it's going to be shaped up here in just a couple minutes.
So we'll get a feel for this first race, and then we'll get a whole nother helping, the main event, if you will, after that. And as he said, only 9 cars from the B main advance on into the final round, the big show. And boy, the guys that are coming from the B main might be coming in with a lot of laps on their belt. If you were watching over on Off Camber TV, you heard them possibly talking about just how many laps some of them may have run by the time they hit the A main. Now, while we have an opportunity, let's give a shout out, of course, to our sponsor of this series, Volt Vapes. They, of course, do a whole lot to make this thing happen. They're the main reason these broadcasts are on in the first place, so we want to give them a mention. Check out voltvapes.com if you want to find out more information for all your vaping needs over in Boise, Idaho. And even if you don't live there, you can order stuff online from their online store. Now, thinking about what is going on here with the race that we've got coming up. We've been talking a lot, Trevor, about how the tires are going to be faring and how the fuel is going to be. Fuel, I understand, isn't going to be an issue, but it sounds like tires are kind of a worry, even with the latest build with iRacing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like Chris said it at the very beginning there, like you are turning constantly in this course. And of course, anytime you enter into a turn, then you know what, you are eating up those tires. And you bring up a good point with the fact that they've actually just changed builds in iRacing. For those not familiar, we're using the iRacing.com software and service for this racing action you guys are going to be seeing. And they've just put out a new build in the last few days here. And one main difference they made was how the track takes rubber and how it's going to be affected by the cars going over it. So these guys, while they've had some practice, that's going to be way different than what they're used to. So there's a learning curve there as well as to how the track's going to take rubber up and how that's going to affect their tires throughout the round. And I mean, 100 laps. That's gonna kill your tires. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, especially when you're only going this short of a distance, but it's like a cheese grater out there, I swear.
And Chris, you and I got a bit of a taste of this last night with the Bootleg Racing League running short track on this new build. Now, I know this is a bit of a shot in the dark since you haven't been, or at least I'm assuming you haven't run a full race distance on these super late models here around Oxford specifically, but based on what we saw last night, do you think they can get this high line working, kind of like we saw with the modifieds at Lanier?
I don't know if it's going to be possible here tonight, only because there's no real straightaway to carry momentum on here. I think it's going to be put the car right down there on that curve, and one term I like to use when we run the bootlegs on this track is curb stomp. You don't want that happening to you tonight. You hit that curve, it's going to kick you up in that car on the outside. You do not want that to happen. But I think it's going to be a bottom feeder type of race. That's where I think it's going to be so tight this evening. Now, I am very curious to see how the tire rubber builds up with the new build, and also I'm interested to see what happens with the car, because last night we witnessed it in the modifieds, as we talked about, and in a previous race I ran in another league, I noticed how looser the car you drove got on the longer runs. Most of the time in these builds, they would get tighter. In this case, I've been noticing a lot more looser racing. So let's, I think Trevor hit on a little bit there when we talk about the cars maybe getting looser and the tire wear. It could be very interesting.
I don't doubt it. Let's just hope we don't have too many cautions if drivers are struggling to keep the cars pointed forward out there. Got a lot of laps to run out there tonight, even as quick as they will rifle off around this 0.3 of a mile track. Now, Trevor, I know you said you've actually run here a few times in some short track series, and we were talking about the number of cars that are going to be out there in the A-main, and traffic definitely probably coming into play. Is there any method or way to try and tackle that, or is it just, hope and pray that you can get by slower cars?
Well, I mean, and it's really, really hard around here, Joe. And the fact that there's no walls, there's no visual indication when you're getting too far, and the way the banking works at this place, it is weird. It just doesn't feel natural, and you get too close to the edge of that track, and I swear the thing just grabs you and just says, hey, let's go check out this field over here. It gets really weird. So if you're trying to get out of the way of a faster car by going to the outside, there's a very, very fine line between, hey, I'm out of the way and I'm out of the racing line on the low line, and I'm now being sent off the track. It's such a challenging track. We talked about it before. It's a track that short track racers love, and it's a track that people who are not as familiar with that style of racing really can't wrap their brains around. And I kind of belong in that latter group.
And we saw that with some of the major players in this championship. David Williams is one of the guys that's fighting for the driver's crown, who isn't showing up here, Chris. And I'm trying to remember some of the other names. Obviously, we mentioned Chase and Fleischle. I mean, you're kind of a short track guy, and coming from your perspective, who does seem to enjoy this style of racing, what is the draw here?
Just beating and banging and just close racing. You're going to get people mad at each other tonight. I mean, if we keep the chat open, you're going to definitely hear some things that you don't normally hear probably at like Talladega or something, but you're going to see people racing hard, and especially with the very short amount of laps. I mean, you look at 250 laps, it's just shy of 100 miles. Think about that for a second. We're not even going 100 miles in the main tonight, but it's 250 laps. So we're going to be knocking off laps quickly, and you're going to see some cautions tonight. I mean, we hope we don't, but you're going to see some cautions tonight likely. You're going to get in the lap traffic, and it's just, you basically don't move your eyes off to what you see tonight on the screen, because there's going to be something going on throughout. But I want to add to something, Joe, when you talked about the different racing, you talked about the guys who aren't here tonight. In a way, you can kind of compare what you're going to see tonight to what we saw a couple weeks ago at Bristol. Short track racing with a bunch of cars, except instead of going on a high bank 15-second lap around each other, we're going to be just kind of on a flat track, but very tight quarters.
Very, very tight quarters, that's for sure. And, we've been getting little glimpses. You can see on your screen all the way around the track, there's another little unique feature, these dirt hills that are kind of mounted up to play, I guess, a safety role in the real world of these light poles. And I've raced this course once many years ago, Trevor, and I'm not sure how long it's been since you drove it, but is it a serious fear for these drivers here in the virtual world that they're going to get turned and maybe launched off of those, maybe get turned over?
It's a definite possibility. I mean, it's a lot easier if you're actually trying to do it, and I've done that because I wanted to see if I could get good air. I mean, but
everybody's tried that, I'm sure, on iRacing.
Absolutely, but I mean, the thing is because they're so close into the racing line, especially at certain points of the track. There, you are going to, if you get spun out, and it's so easy around here to get a little bit of bumper, and you're obviously spinning towards the infield, or you hit that curb wrong, and you're going to spin towards the infield, and you might not get that good, decent air, and start to play some good music, as you're flying through the air, but you will get to a point where you could definitely flip that car over easy enough because they're so close to the track and there's no wall to protect you, and it's scary, and I can't imagine how the guys do it in real life.
Well, I imagine, or at least I would hope, that maybe that dirt is a little bit softer in real life, and maybe it just sort of like lets the car plow into it instead of launching it over. But whatever the case may be, we're actually going to take a very short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back after a moment as the organizers continue to prepare and get ready for the B-main of the Volt Vapes 250 here in the Pacific Majors. Don't go away.
Hi, my name is Donovan Johns. I'm the owner-operator of Volt Vapes here in Boise, Idaho. We opened our first location inside the Boise Town Square Mall in February of 2013. And our second location we opened up on the corner of Fairview and Milwaukee in May of 2013. One of the things that we specialize here is in the entry-level and mid-level range hardware and equipment for beginning vapors to really get the concept of vaping down and to feel confident in their education levels so they're not going to be inundated or overwhelmed with some of the higher end mods. One of the things we also do here is we have the build your own kits, which you can pick any of our entry-level, mid-level batteries and tanks and assemble it into your own kit so you can take home exactly what it is you're looking for when you leave the store.
Welcome back to Oxford Plains Speedway. We're getting ready to to watch the B main here of the Pacific Major. Sorry about that at a moment. And we're just waiting for the cars to grid up now. At this point, you can see a few of them doing some warm-up, and this is, again, the last chance to get into the main 250-lap event. Now, Chris, we were talking about a little bit off-air. The pit lane here is a bit unique, both with entry and exit. Now, what are these guys going to have to be going through, and what's, in your opinion, the best way to go about some of these entries and exits?
Well, the best comparison I can think of right off the bat when we talk about getting on the pit road here at Oxford Plains is think about your local fair that you go into, and you got that one ride that has all the mirrors, and you got to figure your way through it. That's what it's like getting on the pit road here in a way. But look at it like this. You come off turn 4, and you have 2 pits. You have the front stretch pits that are the main. And then directly behind those pits is a second set of pits that's more like a drift course. The way it's set up, it's kind of curvy, and they actually come out almost together off of pit road. Now, I'm not sure as the rules are set up here with the pack majors, but you could either enter right there off turn 1, or you come inside the curve there and come off of turn 2. So that's going to play a factor tonight, especially for cars trying to come on the pit road, because you almost got to stop in the middle of the groove and turn left to get on the pit road if we were to make it to green flag pit stops tonight, especially for tires. Fuel-wise, we don't have anything to worry about tonight. They can go almost 350 laps on a take of fuel here. However, tires are going to be a factor if we get to that tonight. So it's going to get very interesting, especially with 35 cars getting on a one pit road.
And those 35 cars will be in the A main. We're waiting to see exactly how many are going to be out there for the B main, but we want to reiterate only the top 9 of the B main will advance to the A main to get a chance at the big prize at the end. We're watching Seth Alberts, Texas driver. Now we've switched over to Herzog, working his way around. Hopefully these guys have put in a lot of laps. And the good thing about this, Trevor, is that we're going to have a little bit of a different race from what we experienced at Bristol, in that these guys have put in a lot of time racing with other cars by the time we get to the A main. So hopefully we shouldn't see as much yellow flag racing, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, you hope not. I mean, this B main should be fairly clean. It doesn't look like there's going to be a ton of cars out there, but nothing's going to prepare you for when you get into that A main. And, we talk about being in a crowded situation, and a lot of cars out on Bristol. Yeah, that's crowded. That's, you're constantly in traffic, but we're talking about, the shortest of short tracks here. I mean, it is going to be basically a conveyor belt from the time they hit the green flag. I mean, they're going to start up, it's going to be green flag, and it's going to be, oh, I'm in traffic. And it's going to be that way the entire night through.
Well, and if you're a fan of one of these drivers, unless someone comes in at the last second here, it looks like we actually will have 9 drivers in this race, so everybody will advance, and that will take some pressure off, make it a little bit of a fun run for these guys, maybe a little bit of a chance to investigate to see how a 100-lap race will take place on these tires and how everybody will need to be racing each other, see how the stint plays out, and also how the marbles will build up on the outside, Chris, see if they'll get a chance to maybe try and play with that outside line a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. Not only that, it's a confidence builder. If you get somebody, you can go out here and run this race, and you run the 100 laps, and you win it, say Herzog, for instance, goes out and wins this race, that gives you confidence going into that A main thinking, hey, you know what? I can go win this thing because I got a car good enough. But you mentioned that tire buildup. Yeah, we might see the outside line all of a sudden come into play as you see one car already running up there a little bit in practice. But this is one of those tracks, I know we haven't mentioned it too much, but you got the groove, you got the marbles, and then you got the marbles on the outside of the track you do not want to hit, because then all of a sudden you're in the grass.
Undoubtedly, and I'm sure we will see at least a car or two that might slip off to the outside where there's no banking at some point, but the warm-up session is over. Cars are gridding, so let's go to the grid and tell you our starting order. Tom Dreiling is going to be on the pole with Mark Herzog on the outside of the front row. Scott Kugas is going to be in third with Brett Trocine starting in fourth, Trevor.
Starting in fifth, we have Mark Redeker, and Mike Willett is starting in sixth in row 3. In row 4, we have Seth Albert starting 7th, Nicholas Harrison in 8th, and rounding out the field, we have Carl Burke in the 5th row by himself.
We didn't even have enough cars to get to Chris here, unfortunately.
That's the pace car. I'll get him.
All right, there you go. But, actually, while we do have a chance, I want to ask you, Chris, as we've been watching some of these these last chance races and the heats and whatnot, who have you got your eye on? Who do you think is looking good here for this B main?
Wow. I might have throw a wild guess out there. I mean, because I just watched a couple laps of practice that I saw out there. I saw Herzog look pretty good there on the outside. I know we just lost, looks like Rediker's lost connection, so we're down to 8 cars now all of a sudden. If I had to throw a pick, I'll just go with the guy who was P1 in practice, Herzog. Looked like he had a fast lap, fast car, but I just want to see a good race, I think, when it's all over with.
Herzog was definitely looking strong. Trevor, your thoughts as a guy who's done short tracks?
Yeah, at this track, I'm going to go with Tom Dreiling because he's out front, and if he can stay out there, then that's going to be a winning move right there. As long as you're not in traffic, you're the safest guy out there.
Passing not going to be the easiest thing, as we talked about earlier. Chris mentioned should be a one-line race unless maybe some guys start to rubber in that outside somehow, which means Mark Herzog is going to have his work cut out for him in that 57. One more quarter to go, and then we are off racing for 100 laps here in the B main. The Volt Vapes 250 up next here at Oxford Plains Speedway. Pace car is off. Dreiling gets a good jump. Make sure that Herzog isn't able to get by and around him. A little bit of contact between Herzog and Scott Kukas.
Hey, Kukas just took a shot and it propelled him up on that back straightaway. Nice move.
In fact, he's holding the outside right now. 57 isn't able to fully shake him. However, Scott's not going to have a place to try and slip back in line. That's Brett Trocine in the 944 trying to get by him, and he does slip into third. Meanwhile, fans of Mark Rediker, he is back out on track.
Yeah, it's more of a test session for these guys here. And this is not a bad opportunity, Joe, to try the high line out. Try things that you're not going to do in that A main just to see what you can do.
That's actually a good point, Chris. I think that's what Kukas is doing there because he was staying to the high line.
Oh,
even,
contact.
Oh, yeah, contact.
Oh, and already yellow. Oh, no. It's Nicholas Harrison, and it looks like we've got Mike Willett involved in that. Only a couple laps in. Let's look at the replay, see how this played out. Looks like it was actually just ahead of them. Tipped coming into turn 3. It was Seth Alberts who got spun sideways by Carl Berg. And unfortunately for Nicholas Harrison, he was not able to squeak by on the inside without getting tipped, and that sent him well into Mike Willett. 86 got turned into the outside wall. Let's watch on board Harrison and see what he sees. There we go, riding on the dashboard. Car starts to turn, thinks he can maybe get through there, and it's no good.
That's his product, Joe, of sliding up in that car on the outside. It's what that is. Now, here's the situation. You're 4 laps in. How much do you want to go? I'll throw the question to you guys on this. How far do you want to go and maybe experiment? If I'm up front, like Tom Dreiling or something, pit, get some tires, go to the back and see if you can work your way through. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we were saying, I mean, you know, there's nothing on the line here other than experience. So why not try a few things and just see what might work? Like I said, we saw guys going in the high line for no reason. There was a gap to get down to the low line, and they decided not to, just to see, because, again, why not?
Just a side note, Mark Rediker gets our lucky dog out there today, so he is now 1 lap down instead of 2. Slowly working his way back. These guys will have the lucky dog throughout the B main and the A main, and from what we understand, they are going to be restarting double file. Now, we keep mentioning it, but it's a good point of reference, I feel like, Chris, is that Bootleg Racing League. Those guys used to do double file, and they switched to single file after they had a few races where it just couldn't get the green flag racing going. We've got a mix of guys who are short track and not short track racers here. I mean, how do you think this is going to go?
Well, I look at it like this. You got 100. You still got 92 laps to go. Just be patient, get in line, go run some laps, get some experience here, because this isn't a race that counts. You're in it already. Just go run laps.
We'll see who takes that philosophy, as it's going to be Dreiling, Herzog, Trocine, Kukas, and Burke, your top 5. As the pace car peels off one more time, Dreiling taking the lead. Once again, a very good jump. The number 57 tries to get back in line, doesn't have a chance, gets tipped. He's still struggling with it. Now he finally has it going straight.
That looked like
that
netcode a little bit.
Man, that was a good save by 57. Wow.
Absolutely. He was drifting around most of the first two corners. So move the number 944, Brett Trocine, up into second. Dreiling still leading. A little bit of side-by-side action for fourth as we see Carl Burke work his way past Scott Kukas. Oh, and Scott,
We got a hot there.
has a little bit of a problem, yeah. Drifts up to the high side. That loses him another position of Mike Willett, who actually took a stop during the caution to get some repairs.
Should mention-
Harrison squeezed his way by. Go ahead.
Should mention, Joe, there is one fast repair in this race this evening.
Ah, that's true. But do you want to use it this early?
Well, I mean, if
What's the
some of those
worst that's
guys-
going to happen?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
I say for some of those guys that had that damage early on, I don't think they had much of a choice if they wanted to not be racing around a wrecked car for the rest of the race.
You know what, boys, 57's looking racy up here.
He's rocked up to the back of Brett Trocine. But to counter your point there, Trevor, I mean, you might have a wrecked car for much of the final, so maybe try and figure out how a car might feel with not optimal setup, with a little bit of bent toe and stuff like that.
Yep, fair point.
Man, Trocine is really getting the pressure poured on. Herzog coming up to the back of him, trying to see if there's a chink in the armor somewhere.
Yeah, Trocine curb ride in turn 3 and 4 last lap by, and he almost spun it out.
A little bit earlier, we were watching from the gearbox of Trocine. Herzog was almost making contact with the rear bumper, using that good old chrome horn, as they call it here in this type of racing.
We're going to see a lot of that tonight.
I have no doubt, especially when we get 35 guys around here.
Yeah, I saw some just now in our chat, guys. I want to bring this up. Tape. You're on a short track. You could probably load that front end with a lot of tape to get some downforce on this kind of track.
Well, we saw one driver blow his engine in one of the consolation races. Do you think that's because of too much tape?
Probably. That would be my guess. You put too much tape on this car, yeah, it's a short track, and your engines might not get too hot, but you don't want to get them too hot, because obviously at the speed you are, you're not on the throttle much. You still can get that engine hot and blow it up.
Well, and I guess that's where it's going to pay off the drivers who... Whoa, and the 944 once again just clobbering that inside curb. He's getting very brave down there. I'm surprised he's holding on to it each time.
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning, Joe. You know, that curb right there, it's not your standard road racing curb where it's part of the track where you want to be. That curb is nasty, and it will send you sideways. So if you flirt with that a little bit too much, you're going to end up in the outside wall if you're in one of the sections that has a wall.
And the one thing I'm watching Trocine here in the corners, watch his angle entering the corner. He's going to wear his right front tire out a lot quicker than these other drivers. He is entering way low, almost blocking the bottom and running right up against the curve, and you can see him sliding up every time in the corners. I think that's something he's going to learn to adjust here if he's going to want to survive in that A-main.
Friends don't let friends apex early, and right now Brett Trocine continuing to eat up the tires. Lap 22 of 100 currently. They're ticking off fast now that we're getting some green flag racing, but once again, Mark Herzog started in second, slotted back to third, and this last restart has not been able to find a way by despite a few mistakes along the way by Trocine. Oh, and he sticks his nose in this time. Getting a little bit more brave. Trocine gives him room, squeezes on by, move Mark Herzog back up into P2, and it looks like Brett is going to be able to get a little bit of race pace, a little space there to try and slot into third.
I was just listening to some of the chat with the drivers. You got people out here getting mad at each other. There's 8 cars on the track. Imagine 35 tonight.
Well, we saw tempers flare at Bristol, so I can only imagine what's going to happen in the final race with 35 guys out there. I think
Trocine was lucky to get in there. I mean, I think Carl Burke cut him a little bit of slack there, because Carl probably could have blocked him from getting back down to that lane. He looked like he had enough, but Trocine was able to get back down to the bottom, although, like we said, you know, why not practice a little bit? I mean, he knows what... Trocine hits that curb a little bit too much.
Got curb stomped.
He keeps it going, though. We're going to watch on board on that replay. And this is a big lesson in why you don't get that low around this circuit. You flirt with danger a little bit too much, and there you can see the wheels almost just got a little bit too much, and it railroaded him to the inside.
Battle for lead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Herzog is there.
Great call there, Chris. Herzog has been looking strong all night long. And he is now up into P1. Tom Dreiling riding behind, get a little bit of a feel for what it's like with a car in front of you.
I guess after last night and now this, maybe I should go for 3 here in a couple of minutes.
Our own professional analyst.
Lack thereof.
And they're starting to spread out a little bit out here, so I wonder if we're going to see a little bit of traffic start to play into things as Herzog goes wide through 3 and 4.
He's trying to highlight. Either he's driving deep or he's trying to highline out to see what kind of run he gets off the corners, which, you know, it's not a bad idea because when you look at it, you drift up the corner and he comes off and it's almost making a straightaway out of it.
And speaking of these quote-unquote straights, Chris, you know, one of the things we mentioned how, you know, Trevor said that you get to the edge of the banking and it flattens out and you go sailing off on the corners, but that edge of the banking exists here on the straightaways too.
Oh, it does. If you get too high on the straightaways, your car will literally drift off, and there's a wall on both sides of the track. Very interesting because you can, and it's weird because you always want to apex the corner, get up against the wall, and turn in. But here, there's a point where you get too high. Oh, trouble right in front of the leader.
And it looks like Scott Kukas is involved in that, and Seth Alberts. We're going to look at the replay, see what happened. Looks like a bit of a dive by Alberts trying to sneak on the inside into one. You're going to see it here. Crossover move. Thought he had the run, and there was the tail of that car.
Oh, that line is never going to work.
We're going to watch on board Alberts. This is the car that was attempting the pass. Wow. He didn't track out at all. He was basically riding the bottom of the track.
And he did apologize for the move. He's like, oh, sorry, guys. Hey, you got cars on pit road?
Let's see. Guys now experimenting, getting some tires. We've got Nicholas Harrison, I think, getting a few more repairs because he was in there before these guys came in. But we've got Mike Willett coming in. Brett Trocine is in his stall as well. We've got Tom Dreiling.
Trocine going to be getting the concrete out of his rims from the curves.
Maybe check the underside of the car to see if you high-centered it somewhere.
Well, I mean, and you're watching these guys, like the pace car is on the front stretch already. Like these guys have got to be on the ball with those pit stops, so they're going to lose a lap.
Yeah, because these super late models aren't like the Gen 6 or the A cars in iRacing here and that kind of thing. They're not 15-second pit stops here. You have enough time maybe to get 2 tires and get out.
Well, and there's a question for you, Chris. I mean, is 2 tires advantageous, or do you really need 4 to try and take advantage of getting fresh ones?
I think you need 4. But with that being said, you're going to risk track position, especially if you get somebody comes in, gets 2, comes back out and stays out, and all of a sudden you decide to come back in to get those other 2 tires. Now, I think the risk is worth it. I think 4 tires is going to be the answer tonight if you're going to win this race.
You saw from above there Seth Alberts rejoining. He came in for a stop. He is now 2 laps down, it looks like. Actually, I think 3 laps down. All right, so he is in fact 3 laps down from our leader, who is still Mark Herzog. We're going to get, I think, 1 to go this time by, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there we go. Lights are off. So your order will be Herzog, Burke, Dreiling, Willett, Trocine. I thought Rediker was going to be in 7th, but I think he's disappeared once again. His internet continuing to play havoc with him. Oh, now he's back. So Rediker is going to be 6th. Scott Kukas 7th. Seth Albert 8th. And Nicholas Harrison is back out on the track in 9th. So pace car peels off. Herzog does not wait at all like Dreiling did. He accelerates right away, but Tom has the inside on Carl.
We got 1 car on the outside in turn 3 here. I don't know if he moved or not. Yeah, he's off the track. It was a 59 of Rediker.
I think Rediker, with his connection problems, maybe elected to try and just get out of the way and not be a menace to other cars with how close a racing we're going to see out here.
Oh yeah, if you're going to have connection issues, this is not the place to have them.
And Brett Trocine just got on the radio saying maybe we should do single file.
I was going to say that restart almost was. I mean, they kind of were starting to line up and then just kind of didn't. I don't know if that was just a kind of a gentleman's agreement where they decided it was safer this way.
Let's sit short track racing. Put them double file. Let's do it.
Shoot them all and let the devil sort them out?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Well, Tom is certainly not letting off on Mark Herzog. We saw Mark putting the pressure on Tom earlier, and now it has been reversed. He is standing right on the rear spoiler of that number 57, seeing if he can wheedle out what his line is doing, where he's strong. Maybe he can get that P1 back.
We did talk to Dreiling before the race, and I think his quote was, "I stink at this track."
It certainly doesn't look like it in this company.
Oh, 57 loose.
Yeah. I was going to say just behind him, we got a pretty close battle between. Whoa. Dreiling might lose position a little bit there, but actually it looks like it's going to be Carl Burke as Mike Willett takes advantage. As I think Burke got checked up trying to watch out for Dreiling. In fact, Burke is still trying to find his way down the 944 of Brett Trocine, wheedling his way into this thing. And we ride just on the inside of Carl's car, looking back at the 944. Now he's able to chop him off.
You know what I like here, Joe, is I'm watching these guys, like, they're all trying different lines, and that's awesome to see. Like, these guys really are experimenting to see what they're capable of when they get to the A main here.
Now, unfortunately for them, this is not going to carry over the rubber into the A main, so whatever they do to this high side is not going to make a lick of difference once they hit this final round.
I am noticing that groove here getting darker and darker, and you can even see the groove kind of coming out onto the straightaway because, again, what straightaway?
Brett Trocine talking about his engine here. I'm not sure what's going on there.
My guess is too much tape.
Could be. He's running a very shallow line, though, interestingly. We saw the 944 on the backstretch, not really tracking out all that much.
Well, and we talked about it as well. I mean, we're talking about tape on these guys, but I mean, because you're going to be in traffic all night long, you're going to be bumping that nose a lot, so that's going to cause a little bit of front end damage here and there. And you know what? You tape it up too much, you get bumped a little bit too much. Well, that could cause problems.
I think they'd have to have radios if they were bumping that noise in that car. I'm not sure they had it. All right, we're getting lap traffic, though, because here comes Herzog. He's on the back of Nicholas Harris. He moves out of the way up to the high side, lets him through. Now, if we get 35 cars, I'm not sure guys are going to be as willing to move out of the way, especially if they're in a battle.
Somebody get that car a number and a paint scheme. We got an all-black car out here, boys.
Meanwhile, Seth Alberts is next on the list. Number 63, is he going to move high? He's a little bit off the racing line, but he's not moving out of the way quite yet. He's going to move low, and he's going to lift. Oh, but
that's dangerous, though.
I was going to say.
That is not the way to let people go by on this track.
Yeah, usually you want to say, I'm going to let you go high the corner before.
Let's watch on board Dreiling here to see, after we watch off board. Whew. Yeah, just about plowed into the back of him. Here we go. We're going to get a view on board of Dreiling. See how quick the closing rate is going to be. He's way up there, and then suddenly Carr.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, it looks like an easy way to get by would be to let people by would be to go down to that all that space on the front stretch there, but that really messes up your next corner so much that you just shoot up there, and there's no way to really recover that. So that is a lesson in how you think you're doing the right thing, but that is totally the wrong thing at this track.
Well, it's just funny is when I talk to people I race with who sometimes they'll do this kind of thing, they'll get out of the way because they don't feel like they're fast enough. The one thing I always tell them is what I tell athletes when I'm coaching youth sports and stuff is if you don't put full effort out there, you're more than likely going to get hurt more. And when I translate that into racing is if you don't put your full effort out there, run your line, that kind of thing, you're going to cause a wreck. The best thing to do, run your line and let the other guys get around you.
Well, unfortunately for Tom Dreiling, that checkup has put Mike Willett right on his rear spoiler. He's starting to drop off a little bit. He was much closer. He's about half a second back now. The 86 still holding on, though, and putting the pressure on.
Well, to get to that point there, Chris, and I'm going to borrow a line from Bill's Soups On there, but as a card-carrying member of the back of the line club here, I mean, that's a hard lesson to learn because you have those leaders coming up on you, and it is so tempting to try to do your best to get out of the way, but realistically, to do your best is to race your line, like you were saying, but that's a hard lesson to take because you see them and you just want to get out of the way.
I gotta write that one down. Back in a line member. I like that.
Here's Back Markers United is the club.
That's what I was trying to come up with. He said it last night, but
does that get you the skip everybody at Disney card too?
I understand there's donuts at the meeting at least.
Woo!
Meanwhile, Nicholas Harris is. Whoa, we got. I think that was Harrison. Actually, I was just mentioning. Our first card to exemplify why you don't get out. And Tom Dryland comes on the radio, asks who's the farmer. These guys are having fun out there, I think.
But if you watched him when he was doing that, he had just got to the outside line. He wasn't that far out. But you don't have to at this track the way that the banking works.
Now, is it safe to say that Nick was testing the cushion out?
We don't quite have dirt racing yet, even though it is confirmed. He actually took a tow.
I almost had an accident here in turn 3. Kukas and Albert's almost getting together, but so everybody made it out good.
Well, I think Harrison has had enough. He has now exited from the sim. So Nicholas Harrison and Mark Rediker are your only 2 cars who have retired. Oh, Seth Alberts gets tipped.
Seth Alberts.
No caution. Seth Alberts, meanwhile, is continuing to learn how to make friends in short track racing.
How to make friends and influence people at Oxford.
That was our leader, Herzog, who tipped him around. He was trying to find a nose in around 1 and 2. Here we're going to see from on board. Yeah, I don't blame him. It looked like he gave him the line at first there.
Yeah, I would have stuck my nose in there too.
Well, you talked about this being a test session, a learning experience. I think for Seth Alberts, it's very much being a learning experience of what to do and what not to do, especially letting the leaders by. And speaking of which, I made a mental note to mention it as we were about lap 42, that we were close to the halfway point. Well, we're not even close to the halfway point anymore. We've got 30 laps to go.
Yeah, laps tick off here so quick. I mean, they're running, 15-second laps, which is pretty much equivalent. They ran at Bristol. So look at it like that. It's very fast-moving laps, very tight corners. You're going to have some tired arms by the end of this night, too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we talk about this as a good way to get some practice for that, but that's an extra 100 laps on those arms. And for anybody who doesn't think that sim racing will tire you out, you are mistaken, especially when it comes to a track as demanding as this.
Now, what's interesting, remember Herzog, well, I guess he got slowed up by that incident with Alberts, but he had gapped Tom Dryland a little bit earlier, and Dryland seems to be closing in on him. It's now less than a second between first and second.
Well, it makes you wonder how much he hurt his tires locking his brakes up. He might have some flat-spotted front tires because he pretty much had to lock them up to keep from running over Alberts as much as he did.
And we should probably clarify, you can't actually flat spot your tires yet in iRacing. You can overheat them, though.
I stand corrected.
Oh, I look forward to the day that we can flat spot them, because that'll make things very interesting.
I don't.
I like a challenge. That's why I drive the Lotus 49.
Well, we don't have flat spotting yet, but what we do have is the ability to pick up debris and other, marbles, dirt, grass on your tires, and that does affect traction, and that does come into play here. So if somebody goes off track on the outside and brings some of that dirt back on the track, you can get that on your tires, and that will affect your grip level. So,
well, the one thing, guys, I'm taking note of here is we're about to cross the 80-lap mark here, and look how black the groove is on the bottom. It's going to get to a point where you're going to get 100, 150, 200 laps into this race here in a little bit, and we're going to have a slick track. Actually,
we haven't really even looked at the temperature out there. Track is 85 degrees. It's It's partly cloudy at 77 degrees air temperature, so not a terribly hot day for iRacing weather. As we continue to tick off the laps, now 20 to go. Herzog still your leader. He's starting to drop Trilling once again, who's now up to 1.2 seconds back in second place. Mike Willett has been slipping backwards steadily, but he's still in third. Brett Trocine is your fourth place driver. And then Carl Burke is the last car on the lead lap. He's sitting in fifth. Scott Kukas still out there circling around the 065 and Seth Alberts, the last car on the track, still running. Now, just a reminder, this is the B main, this 100-lap race, and all 9 drivers will advance to the A main. As far as we know, we haven't heard confirmation from our organizer, Mike Willett, on anything otherwise yet. Now, let's put the cameras on Seth Alberts, because he is way up there.
He's testing the cushion.
He's in the stratosphere.
And
now he's in the dirt.
I was going to say, he had the leader coming up on him, and he was making sure he was getting well out of the way that time.
Well, I thought it was intentional at first, and he got on the radio saying that was a little wider than he meant. He actually got out to the grass. He wasn't even just in the dust.
I think we're going to have to take some terms for the drivers. That's now 2 times I've heard farming being referenced by people going off track. So we might be hashtag farming tonight.
Well, I mean, to get out there, you have to plow wide.
Wow.
So, I'm here all week, guys.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, dear.
All right, 15 laps to go now. Mark Herzog, at this point, just putting the laps in. He looks pretty comfortable.
Yeah, Herzog's extended that lead to 2 seconds now, so he's definitely got back in that rhythm, which this is one of those tracks you need rhythm. It's one of those you got to know when to gas off the brake, when the gas off the brake, and it's that kind of thing. It's all about rhythm here.
And I'd love to talk to both Mark and Tom to see how much of this extended gap here at the end is maybe Tom taking it easy, or if he actually burned his tires off and can't keep up with Mark. Meanwhile, we're watching Mike Willett in that beautiful lightning paint scheme. I'm trying to remember the name of the team. Was it Thunderstruck? Or Thunder Road, that's what it was.
Yeah, actually, while we have the camera there on Mike, he does an awesome job with this league, doing all the the organization and making sure these guys have a well-oiled machine within which to race. So shout out to Mike for all the work that he does for this series.
I want to send a shout out, along with what you said there, Trevor, but to the viewers we've had so far this evening. Every time somebody's gone off track, it's turned into a game of Pokemon Go in the chat, which has made us really fun about finding things while they're out there in the dirt.
And of course, obviously, we do pay attention to the chat, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. If we get a chance, we'll try and answer them live on air. But in about 8 laps' time, we won't have time anymore because we're going to get to the finish of this race. Herzog is just about nearly there, and he's going to find himself in the finale of the Pacific Majors Round 11. Now down to 6 laps to go.
Well, and Joe, one thing that I was going to mention as well is, for those who might not be familiar with this series, the thing that I love about the Pacific Majors is the fact that they race all the different car combinations and tracks. So, they could be out road racing on, at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in the F1 cars, and now they're in super late models at Oxford. I mean, in order to get a good point scoring, finish in this series, it takes all types, and that's where we're going to see comers and goers where, somebody who's strong in the points might not have a good race or might not even show up. That it's the thing I love about this race.
Watch it, Herzog.
Wow, Herzog is
he's been dancing
a lot. Laps left.
He's been dancing a lot off the corners.
We're going to watch the replay. Is this intentional, or did he shoot the tires?
He looks like he's tight loose. He's pushing in mid-corner, and then it's snapping on him coming off.
He's making it look like a dirt car out there with the way it went around that corner.
Now to add what you're saying, though, Trevor, I mean, I know we got 2 laps to go here, but like the next race they got coming up in a couple weeks, Petit Le Mans, whole nother monster.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and this is why they call it the Mario Andretti Drivers Championship. You got to be able to drive everything and be good at everything, but the white flag is out for Mark Herzog. 2 more corners to go, or 1 more corner if you count the whole track as a single thing. As he comes off of 4, Mike Herzog is going to be your winner in the B main tonight for the Oxford 250. Tom Dreiling comes home in 2nd place. Mike Willett is your 3rd place finisher. Brett Trocine in 4th. Carl Burke 5th. Scott Kuka 6th. And South Albert rounds out the cars still running in 7th. Nicholas Harrison in 8th. And Mark Redeker in 9th. Those are going to be your results, your unofficial results here for the B main. We're going to go to break, and we'll be back in a moment. We might be able to have some driver interviews before the A main, depending if some of these guys are willing to come in and give us a chat, talk about their feelings of how that went. But regardless, stick around because the A main 250 laps at Oxford is coming up. Welcome back to Oxford Plains Speedway, here where we just watched the B main for the Oxford Plains 250 round 11 of the Pacific Majors. And our winner from the B main was Mark Herzog. Now all 9 drivers are going to advance, but still I'm sure winning that one is going to be heartening for Mark, as lets him know that he does have the pace for at least a little something in the A main. So Mark, we have to ask, what was your goal going into that once you saw that 9 drivers were there and 9 drivers are going to be going into the final?
Well, make it through without having to use a fast repair and get some time in the car, because in my heat race, my displays were acted up, so I basically jumped over one of the light pole mounds and quit and spent the next 30 minutes trying to get everything straightened out.
So we were wondering how many drivers were maybe using this as kind of a test session to see what they could get away with on alternate lines and varying strategies and stuff like that. Did you do any of that? Were you testing the waters on anywhere that was kind of unknown territory for you?
I was actually testing my throttle because I came to realize it's really no more than half throttle, maybe 3/4 at the most, during the whole run, and that's what'll get you to roll through the corners a lot harder, a lot better without pushing it in the center.
So we heard some very divisive opinions about this track and this style of racing and the lead up to this race. What are your feelings about the short track and the super late model?
I like the car. I try to run it in official races when I can. I think Mike's put a really good format together here. I know a lot of guys are thinking it's just too short and too round, and but it's a good learning experience. It's good for throttle control. It's good for being patient and being aware of what's around you.
Absolutely. Every style of racing can teach you something, I'm sure. Well, again, congratulations on the first here in the B main. Do you think you got anything for the A main? What's your prediction on finishing position?
Honestly, I'll be happy if I can get into the top 20, top 15 without wrecking the car. And I think this is the first thing I've won other than the incident amount. I think I've had most of the incidents in Sebring, the first race of the year. But I think I was happy with the race. It was good, and I'm looking forward. Hope I can get a top 15 out of here.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that. Again, that's Mark Herzog, winner today in the B main. Up next, we're going to talk to Tom Dreiling. He came in P2 just behind him. And I believe, Chris, would you like to talk to Tom?
Sure, why not? Of course, Tom finishing P2 tonight, just get a good run there, 100 laps as he gets ready for the A main, which you're in, Tom. Congratulations on that. I know we talked a little bit off the air. You said, Tom, I hate this track. I think it was somewhere you put it like that. Still hate it after running second?
Yeah, still, it's not my favorite track. Short track is my favorite style, but this is just not one of my favorites. The constant turning is a little bit troublesome.
Did you learn anything in that 100-lap run that you could take into the A-main?
Yeah, the major thing I learned, needs to go more than 30 laps for tires to make a huge difference.
One thing also I noticed there after 100 laps, that inside groove was getting awfully black with tire rubber. Did you notice any difference in that groove? Do you feel like maybe you move up a little bit on the track, it might get faster later in the race?
I think with more cars on the track, we're going to have to move higher. It just got really, really slick. I was starting to think dirt came early.
Hashtag dirt confirmed. But Tom, talk about your goals for this A-main coming up, because obviously we're going to have 35 really good drivers in there, including you. What are you looking forward to, and what are your goals for tonight?
Well, my main goal tonight is just to keep as clean as I can get. It's a short track, so there's going to be some bumping and rubbing like that. But right now I'm 6th in points. I would love to move to the top 5, so just trying to keep clean and get as front as possible.
All right, Tom Dreiling finishing second here tonight. Wish you the best of luck coming up in the A-main, and go get some water so you can get ready.
All right, thank you guys. Putting on a great show. Hope to hear from you again.
Absolutely, Tom. Joe, back to you.
We got one other driver who did not drive in the B main, but he will be driving in the A main, and that'll be Taft Baldwin. Trevor has caught up to him and is going to ask him a few questions about how he expects that to go.
Hey, Taft, Trevor up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Trevor, yeah.
So, with only 9 cars out there in the B main, we were still seeing some a little bit of bumper tagging going. What are you expecting in this A main with the slightly more crowded track out there?
I expect a lot of contact. There's going to be guys that are going to be a little quicker. I think we're all faster at different points on the track. I noticed in our heat race, Blake could get into the corner a lot better than I could. I felt like I was rolling the center better, but then also getting out of the corner. It just depends on entry. Everyone's going to be careful of where everyone enters, and as we saw at Bristol, we're not always good at that.
And you make a good point there when it comes to different people being stronger at different points. I mean, at this style of racing and this track in particular, how much is playing to traffic going to play into how you're going to finish rather than actually racing the track itself?
That's kind of the tricky part, is you're basically racing the track and trying to, at least my strategy is always to take care of the tires here. Doesn't matter if it's a late model race with no cautions or in a super late model race, you're always trying to keep the car balanced through the corner. You don't want to slide the nose. You don't want to, kick the rear end out down the straights because you're not going straight. You just really want to try to keep everything balanced and keep everything rolling. At the same time, you've got everybody around you it's like a nest of bees. So it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. I don't plan on pitting a whole lot until later in the race, just trying to stay out of trouble.
So track position is going to be a little bit more important than fresh tires then?
Yeah, the only way to pass is to move someone pretty much, unless they make a mistake. And I mean, I figure top 10 probably aren't going to make a whole lot of mistakes. So the only way to get by them is they're going to make a mistake, you're going to move them out of the way. I figure the top 5 shouldn't really get that aggressive till the end of the race. I figure.
As they shouldn't, but they're all racers out there, so we all say, oh, of course they're going to take it easy, but then the green flag flies and all bets are off is what I've experienced, especially in short track racing.
Yep, start to see red.
All right, Taff, well, thanks for taking a couple minutes to talk to us here, and good luck in the A main.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, Joe, do we have somebody else we're going to talk to here before we get ready for the next race?
Yeah, we have Michael Smith, another A-main driver, Smitty, as we like to call him. See how he thinks things are going to go. And Smitty, I have to ask the big question that any fan of you is probably wondering. Do you think you've finally shaken the bad luck? Are you looking at a good night tonight?
You know what? Do me a favor. Let's just not talk about that.
Okay.
Not
all right.
jinx it at
I'll
all.
leave that behind. Now, I did hear you did pretty well in one of the last chance rounds a little bit ago. Was it second place? Is that where you finished there?
Yeah, I ran Heat 4, started on the outside row, position 4. And I'll tell you what, starting the outside was tough. I'm not relishing any kind of restart where I'm on the outside in the A main here, but be able to get to the bottom pretty quick and then slowly but surely work my way to the front. Had a blast doing it, was really surprised at being able to make some moves. My guess is that some of these guys might not have had quite the setup for the heat race. They were gearing more towards the main, so I don't know that we'll be quite as strong. We'll just have to see what happens.
Are there any other lessons you learned about the track or about maybe even pit entry, pit exit that you're taking from these B races, these heat races that you took part in?
Well, for sure, I watched the B main here and try to get an idea of how much time you're going to lose if you try to come in and make that stop. I think stopping on the green is going to be a tough ask. It's going to have to happen, I think, at some point. I think 250 laps on tires is going to be a nightmare. So let's assume that we're going to have a caution at the right time and that we're going to come down pit road. So, yeah, trying to make the decision how many tires to take, how far up the field you are, and obviously track position is going to be really important.
Well, we'll cross fingers that the iRacing gods are smiling at you this round. But Smitty, again, best of luck. And this is an oval round, so looks like it's in your wheelhouse.
Wheelhouse indeed. Hopefully everything keeps going the way it has been so far. It's been a lot of fun. I finished second to my teammate Lionel Clusto in that race, so I wouldn't be too shook up about doing that once again.
All right, that was Michael Smitty Smith, another driver we're going to be seeing in the A main tonight here at the Oxford Plains 250. We are going to go to another quick break here as the organizers continue to figure out the grid order and get everybody in line and do all the pre-race festivities. But we'll be back in a moment for the main event here in round 11 of the Pacific Majors live on the Global Sim Racing channel.
Hi, my name is Donovan Johns. I'm the owner-operator of Bolton Vapes here in Boise, Idaho. We opened our first location inside the Boise Town Square Mall in February of 2013. And our second location we opened up on the corner of Fairview and Milwaukee in May of 2013. One of the things that we specialize here is in the entry-level and mid-level range hardware and equipment for beginning vapors to really get the concept of vaping down and to feel confident in their education levels so they're not going to be inundated or overwhelmed with some of the higher end mods. One of the things we also do here is we have the build your own kits, which you can pick any of our entry-level, mid-level batteries and tanks and assemble it into your own kit so you can take home exactly what it is you're looking for when you leave the store.
Welcome back to Oxford Plains Speedway, where we're getting ready to watch the Volt Vapes 250, round 11 of the Pacific Majors. And man, this aerial view gives you a good idea of the chaos that is about to erupt around here. We don't even have all the cars on track, and you can see they're just about filling up the whole thing. But to give our viewers an idea of what the A main is all about, let's go to Trevor with the details of the race.
Now this one's just slightly different in the fact that it's obviously a longer race, but the A main, we're going to have the same cars, obviously the super late models. The setups are open, keep that in mind. So these guys actually can adjust their setups. They're at 100% fuel, which means they go on forever around this track, so fuel is not a concern at all. 250 laps, which is just shy of 100 miles at 93.75. They do get one fast repair, and that is going to be key to strategy here, because when do you use it? Because they're probably all going to use it before the night's done. We have a nice weather here. We got 77 degrees Fahrenheit, winds coming out of the west at 4 miles per hour, and partly cloudy skies, Joe.
Beautiful day here up in the New England states. These guys will want to be taking full advantage of whatever grip they can with these tires getting worn out, as most drivers have said, after about 100 laps. And we heard a few of them say they were kind of paying attention to see what kind of crossover they can get with new tires and old tires, depending on if they have to do green flag stops, yellow flag stops. A lot to pay attention to, not just 34 other cars out there, Chris, but all kinds of strategy that some of these guys might even have someone up on the box telling them what to do in regards to that.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. Just watching the 6 or 7 minutes of practice I've seen so far, the safest place on the track might be out in the grass. And I literally mean that, because, I mean, you got cars all over the place here, and it's what short track racing is all about. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to have some good racing, and I'm just looking forward to it.
I am too. This is incredibly unique. As we mentioned, we've had Bristol, which is similar, but still not quite the same to this type of racing. We have had no other race quite like this in this series. And you think about that Mario Andretti Drivers' Cup. Mario Andretti cut his teeth on this sort of racing. A lot of it on dirt, some of it on pavement, but definitely was, you know, coming up in America in the 60s and 50s. He was out there on these short ovals.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of racers get their start on these, you know, these short tracks, and you know, all across America, they're peppered around, and this is just one of those super iconic ones that you know, a lot of people talk about. It's a favorite amongst late model drivers, super late model drivers, you know, modified drivers. They just love this track for some reason, and I think that's because they're partially insane, and they like driving this close to other cars. I swear.
These guys are definitely getting a taste of that now. Most of them running nose to tail out there. As we watch Donovan Johns in the Northwest Club work his way around in the 37. One of the few cars all by his lonesome, but not anymore, as we got more cars coming out of the pits with him. And boy, man, if we do have green flag stops, that's something that we haven't really talked about, Chris, is cars coming in and out of pits. It's going to make it even more chaos.
I am just sitting there thinking in my head, well, how in the world are we going to pull this one off? Because I was listening to the rules, and what they're saying is there really aren't any when it comes to getting off the pit road. So pretty much you can enter right there in turn 1 and get on the track, which when you look, it's right in the middle of the groove.
I would not advise that.
No,
I'm not even a short track driver, and I'm saying right now, I would not advise that move.
Yeah, that's not a good idea, but let's just see how it all goes, because when it's all over with, I think the more you go green, I don't think you're going to see cars on pit road for green flag pit stops. I think the only time you're going to see them in there will be probably under caution, because, again, fuel, you can go as long as you want. It's a matter of how much you save your tires.
Yeah, you're not gonna want to to pit under green in this situation. I think you're gonna stick with the tires you got, because you're gonna lose multiple laps if you go in under green, and you just can't take that chance.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
Well, if we get long green flag runs in, we're going to see some drivers who really prove themselves and earn their money having to wheel these things with these tires going off significantly. As we've got just a few more seconds left in the warm-up, and then we are going to go racing for 250 laps around this beautiful New England Speedway, Oxford Plains. As it ticks down, once again, a big thanks to Volt Vapes for coming on and sponsoring this race and this series and making all of this happen. Without them, you wouldn't get this fantastic championship.
You know what, Joe? Just a quick note as before we go to green. Richie Hearn is in this race, and we talk about him a lot in this series, and I can't wait to see what he can do here.
Oh, and he is looking forward to this as well. I saw a pre-race. Let's go to the grid. Chad Barker is going to be on the pole. Then it's Wayne Hutchinson in second. Taft Baldwin starts row 2 and third, with Lionel Kalisto starting in fourth. Smitty, he's going to be up in fifth place, so he's going to be starting in a good position. Let's see what he can do with it. Blake Reynolds will be outside of him in sixth. Brian Barnes is starting in seventh, with Rob Gall in eighth. Ryan Bird in ninth, and Brian Bennett rounding out the top 10, Trevor.
Starting in 11th, we have Donovan Johns. And Ray Partridge is starting in 12th position. The 13th is William Fletcher. Bob Beltrami is in 14th. Ethan Moore starting in 15th. 16th is Dee Palmer. 17th is Jared Morgan. 18th is Michael Lane. 19th, well, there's Mr. Richie Hearn, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do from there. And 20th, Chris, is Gary Laviolette.
And taking a look at your back half of the field here, 21st, Nick Hunt, outside row number 11, there's Gary Nichols. Inside of row number 12, Chris Beck alongside Kyle Murphy. Drew Lalonde will start inside of Michael Thompson. Mark Herzog, the winner of the B main just a few minutes ago, will start there in 27th on the inside of row 14 with Tom Dreiling. Mike Olliette will start 29th alongside Brett Trozine. Joe?
Then in 31st, it's going to be Carl Burke with Scott Kukas in 32nd, Seth Alberts in 33rd, and apparently we don't quite have 35 cars out here, just going to be 34 of them, with Mark Redeker rounding out the field at 34. And boy, they already, as they started up, were very spread out. We have one more lap, and then we go green.
So I'm just looking at the back half of the field here. They are coming to the start-finish line right now. That's how tight this is.
Nearly half a lap.
Almost half a lap down before we even get started. That's great.
All right. Chad Barker is going to lead the way. Wayne Hutchinson on his outside. How are they going to fare? Green flag is out, and we are racing for round 11 in the Pacific Majors. Right away, a good jump by Chad Barker. Gets out clean, single file. Everybody else behind him, though, doubling up. A little bit of a checkup, as I think actually Taft Baldwin got in the back of Hutchinson there through 1 and 2, but just a little bit of rubbing. Oh, we got an incident behind. Cars are staying forward, but we got 3 wide, and now cars are spinning.
Only 2 cars involved actually right now.
And boy, let's try and pick this one apart, because let's see, I think it started with Rob Gall.
Yeah, Rob Gall's in it, Brian Bennett's the other car.
And actually, I think Donovan Johns was the one that tipped Gall. That got him a little bit sideways. Cars were trying to avoid him. And it looks like Gall got into the side of Brian Bennett. A few more cars T-boned those two. But everyone behind, besides just hitting some bumper-to-bumper traffic sort of stuff, everybody else got through. That's not bad for the field being packed up right on lap 2.
Yeah, and that was 3 wide going through the corner. 3 wide does not work well at Oxford. 2 wide is hard enough.
There we see Johns getting that little bit of a tip, and he's able to get away clean. And unfortunately for our other drivers that got involved in that, I'm sure they're not going to be terribly happy with him. What was funny about that, maybe funny for us, but not for the drivers down there, Trevor, is I saw some guys actually take to the pit exit to try and escape some of the chaos before it really had gotten to its worst point. I mean, guys were diving below the curb.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a viable strategy. However, that curb, we talked about it in the B main. I mean, that curb can turn your car around before you even blink if you hit that the wrong way. So it's a good strategy, but you could end up adding to the problem if you end up hitting that curb just wrong.
Well, and if a wreck does erupt and you think you're taking evasive action down there, then you're stuck under there. Do you get a cut course penalty for going down there?
I don't think you do for the inside of the track, inside the curve there. But if you were to say go between the light poles to try to misdirect, then you might have a cut in the course penalty coming.
Gotcha. So I guess you could dive under there and not really suffer too much, other than maybe a bit of a slow line and having to re-enter the pack. All right, guys, we're 6 laps in. We've got about a lap and a half of green flag, well, a lap and a third maybe of green flag racing. We still have 33 cars. Mike Willett appears to not be racing. I wonder if he's doing his usual steward duties up in the box. We were surprised when we saw that he was racing in the B main. But we're doubling up. We're getting ready to go back racing with our second start of the evening. Pace car peels off. Chad Barker has the lead once again. Once again, a very good run. But wow. Big tap from behind from Taft Baldwin into Wayne Hutchinson.
Hutchinson shut the door on Baldwin there.
He wasted no time into getting into that inside line. He knew what the deal was, just like Smitty described earlier.
4 or 5 cars. Trozine's in it. Looks like Dreiling might have been turned.
Is it Dreiling or is that Kyle Murphy? I think that's Kyle Murphy, actually. Yeah, that's Kyle Murphy. There you can see down into turn 3, he got tipped, and it was Dreiling who did hit him, though. We're going to watch on board Trocine, who seemed to have gotten the worst of it there. It seems like, Trevor, there's really just no time to react to anything because you're just so in the thick of it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like you were going to be in traffic the entire time you were racing here, and as soon as something happens, you're in it. I mean, that's your only chances if you're a couple cars behind and have it, a little bit of time to slow down. But other than that, anything that happens is going to happen quick, and your only hope is that they go sailing off into those wonderful fields off to the side. But if they stay on the track, well, it looks like that.
As we watch from above, and thankfully, once again, it was a relatively small incident, a few cars getting banged up, but as we watch, it looks like Dreiling already taken his spare car. He was that damaged. We're only 11 laps in. That could come back to haunt him.
Oh, yeah, because these guys are going to need a lot of cars before the end of the night, and they only have one.
You guys noticed the pit road he's using. He was on that windy part of pit road, which is, I guess you can call the backstretch pits.
The middle of the oval pits, because it almost literally cuts through the middle of the oval. And to Trevor's point, I feel like I'd almost, if you get that damage this early, I think I would just take the damage repair and try to slowly work my way back onto the lead lap through lucky dogs or other various things, or just hope for a decent result instead of a win, because using it that early, I feel like you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage. But the lights are off on the pace car, and we are going to go back to green. Nope, they are still on, excuse me. Thought guys were doubling up there.
See, they're even racing each other and in traffic, when we're pacing here. They're not even doubled up, and they look like they're about to run over each other.
Well, everybody was all kind of getting ready for that, and I thought, they already are ready to go, but I guess not. Everyone's just anticipating. Tell me these guys aren't itching to race.
Well, and we have seen a couple cautions already here, Joe. But as we get deeper and deeper into this event, it is a long event, 250 laps, as the lights are now out on the pace car. There will be some weaning out, of the traffic, and we'll probably get a lot more racing later on into this race, I'd imagine.
Probably similar to like we saw at Bristol last round. So pace car peels off once again. Third start of the day. Chad Parker well clear of, and some big bumping there. The second place car, 17, trying to hold on to it. That was Wayne Hutchison gets shuffled back. Could not slot into the lower line this time around. Top 5 able to get single file, but we've already got a caution once again.
Wrecking in the front now.
I wonder if there were multiple incidents going on here. I'm trying to catch it. We're trying to find our replay here, as there was a lot of cars involved.
Well, I know Seth Alberts was definitely involved there. I did see him get tagged by what looked like Dreiling.
I think Bob Beltrami. Yes, Bob Beltrami is our first car involved.
Yep. He got turned in turn 1 there. I think that actually happened after the caution.
It looks to be the case. I'm still not sure what kicked it off then. If he wasn't the one, he got a little bit tipped by Ray Partridge. Here you're going to see he went a little lower than Bob expected.
Actually, I found that caution, Joe. It's the backstretch. Seth Alberts lost on the back straightaway, hit the curb, went spinning into turn 3. That brought the caution out, and then the incident in turn 1 happened after.
Oh, he actually had some help. We're going to watch one more angle here. And then let's see if we can go back to Seth Alberts. He got some help. Looks like Tom Dreiling, his old buddy. There you see coming out of 2. Just gets a little bit of a tip, and that's what sent him to the inside and goes flying over that curve into the other cars. Let's watch on board Alberts. Normally guys are flying when they go off the edge of the track, not over the curb.
Yeah, and as we watch that, it looks like the stewards are giving a black flag to Tom Dreiling, so he does have a penalty for that incident by the looks of it.
All right, so stewards are not looking kindly on this bumping and banging. A little bit is to be expected on a short oval, but we're now on, is this caution number 4?
Caution
lap 19?
3.
Caution 3. It's a little bit much, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like short track racing when it's all over with. I mean, you make contact with somebody on a regular short track night, you get sent to the back or a black flag or something. That's what happened to Dreiling.
Yeah, for those who, as you say, for those who watched our B main there, we, Seth Alberts had a adventurous journey in that race, and it looks like that's carried right over to this A main as well.
Well, and this time, though, it definitely was not Seth's fault. He was an innocent victim in that one, as evidenced by that black flag. We're watching some of our top drivers. There's Wayne Hutchinson in 6th. Boy, let's look close. We had a good shot there of the rear of the car. He got a serious thump there on the restart.
Yeah, he didn't get the restart he had that last time by, and that's where Baldwin was able to get to his inside there, and then he got on the brakes hard and he got hit from behind.
All right, we are doubled up, and this time I'm sure that the lights are out on the pace car. We're going to restart with 22 laps in. That gold Mustang peels off. Chad Barker still in charge of the field. Doesn't get as good of a jump as we've seen before. Baldwin is able to slide into line, though. Side by side for 3rd. That's Kalisto and Reynolds.
Well, I see cars sliding everywhere here.
I think guys having to feel out the track, see where things are. I don't think there's enough marbles to really worry about that high line quite yet.
No, and Kalisto's doing an awesome job up there. I mean, that's a tough line to race around here. He's stuck up there, but he's holding his own, not really losing positions yet.
Kalisto is known for being pretty good at these ovals. He tends to fare well in that number 2. Look at him get the drive off the corner, really using that momentum. Might be able to gain more spots as everybody else seems to be stuck in traffic.
And that's what he's doing. He's getting the advantage of going where nobody's at, but I just don't know if the grip's there yet.
Well, he's looks like just about overtaking 2 cars. Look at this, he's being joined. Blake Reynolds says, all right, if you can do that, I can do that.
It's almost like it's a plate track, and they're like, all right, the high line's coming. Let's jump in front of them.
Wow, Burns got a little bit of a side swipe from the number 2, but they both get away with it. We're finally getting some green flag racing, and yes, it looks like Reynolds is trying to make that high line work now, and he is doing a fine job of it. He's going up to 2nd.
Wow.
I did not expect that line to catch in that quick.
He is now into the lead. Look at Blake Reynolds trying to overtake Chad Barker, pinches him down a little bit, gets the run off the corner. The number 76 is up in a P1.
High line confirmed.
We got a caution. Let's see if I can figure out who it is.
Looks like
Kyle
turn
Murphy.
4.
Oh, and that was for Murphy. It was the 81. Let's see if I can figure out. That's Gary LaViolette. Looks like, I think something started even before that. Yes, there was. There is a lot of stuff going on for this caution. I'm not even sure which one caused it. Jared Morgan is the first one to start to get out of shape. That was all by his lonesome, coming out of 2. And unfortunately, that checked up the field. That caused what looks like Bob Beltrami to get into the back of Gary LaViolette. Now, if you're not following this is all in your textbooks. The test will be later. Man, we need a
Just open
flow
book.
chart for this.
How
One
about
thing led to another, which led to another, which led to another. And there you can see there's Murphy getting the last bit of all the chaos.
Should we,
I mean,
sum that up to short track racing?
I think so.
Basically.
I was going to say, I mean, one of the advantages, we talked about it earlier in the B main, one of the advantages of this track in particular is the fact that, yeah, you're going to spin, you're going to have problems, there's going to be contact, but because the way the walls are only on the front and the back stretch, there's a good chance you're actually not going to hit anything other than other cars. So if you get spinning off track, you're probably not going to damage your car that much unless you get caught up in a melee with other cars.
Well, the unfortunate thing with being more likely to hit other cars is that means guys are more likely to get a little bit hot under the collar at each other. So let's go through the order since we haven't done that in a while and we've got a bit of a chance that guys aren't swapping positions every half second. Blake Reynolds is your leader now after a brilliant move around the outside of Chad Barker, who is still in second place. However, Chad has led the most laps with 26 so far in this 250-lap race. Lionel Kalisto, he is sitting in third position. Taft Baldwin is behind him in fourth. And Brian Barnes rounds out your top five of this field.
And also to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way, it looks like Michael Lane did get the lucky dog on that, so that will bring him back onto the lead lap by the looks of it.
All right, looks like the lights are off on the pace car. We haven't seen Blake Reynolds lead them off on the restart yet. Let's see how he fares. Old Mustang peels in. Green flag is out, and Reynolds with a fantastic jump. In fact, I think Kalisto might have the inside on Barker. Yes, he does. He's going to sneak up into second in the number 2. Oh, would have been a ghost contact between himself and Barker.
I don't know if that was ghost contact or he just kind of got a little loose there.
In fact, Barker continues to slip backwards on that high line. He doesn't like it like Reynolds did. Number of cars trying to figure out where in the world they need to go, and all this mess back there. From about fourth on down, we got a car spinning. Is that Ryan Bird? That is Ryan. Oh, and it was Smitty. Looks like I think Ryan Bird was the one that started it, and Smitty got the last of it. 888. It's a little bit of a hip check that sends him around. And the 27 of Smitty is a bit of a pinball and all of that. A couple other cars spinning off towards the pit as the virtual crews all take cover. Looks like that was the number 71, and I think we just heard from race control they are going to review that incident.
Oof. It was kind of mentioned in the chat as well. It's kind of, I don't envy Mike in this situation because I mean it's really hard to penalize cars in this sort of racing because you're going to have contact, you're going to have people trying to cut people's noses off. It's going to be happening all night long. So I really don't envy Mike in sitting up there in the marshal's booth and trying to determine who's at fault for some of these incidents.
Oh, not at all.
And we're watching it from above and looking at it. The 17, it was Wayne Hutchison that got into him. He wasn't really pinching Wayne down, so Wayne did drift up a little bit, but it was ever so slightly. So I feel like it's if it was me in Mike's position, Chris, I would say racing incident.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what? You got to, at the same time, these guys got to show patience on this kind of a track and realize you got 210 laps to go on this kind of track. But yeah, there's going to be racing incidents on this kind of track, but at the same time, again, it's a short track. You got to be patient because you got to be able to get to the finish to be able to win it.
To finish first you must finish.
Yep.
That old adage, it gets brought out all the time, but I feel like in short track racing, like you just talked about, Chris, it's extremely important.
And our lucky dog this caution was Brett Trocine, bringing him back on the lead lap. So we now have still 32 cars on the lead lap here with Tom Dreiling, the only guy who is behind, and that is because he had that penalty.
Trevor, it's a philosophy I hear all the time here in oval racing that so many drivers say, I'm just cruising for the majority of the race, and then the last bit, that's when I push. It seems like this is the case here, but I mean, with all the chaos that's going on in the mid-pack, it seems like a risky proposition and not be out front.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that with Blake there. I mean, he really, really gave it to get back to that lead because he wants to be in that front spot. He wants to have control of this field, as we take the restarts, as we're about to do. So you push hard to get to the position you want, and then maybe you lay it in.
All right, green flag is out as Blake Reynolds once again gets a good jump. This time it's Lionel Callisto around the outside, has no opportunity to try to keep Taft Baldwin at bay, or does he? Working that high line. He was one of the drivers doing it earlier on one of the restarts. And he is holding his own for that second place.
I'll tell you what, I'm noticing that groove already getting black on that inside, so look for that high line to get better and better throughout the night.
Just going to make it all the more interesting. And it looks like Lionel gave up the ghost this time. He lets Taft have that second position. Lionel into third. In fact, they're single file all the way back until... Is that Ryan Bird, actually, what I'm seeing? Yeah, in 8th position, coming around the outside. He's trying to overtake Ray Partridge, not quite there.
Bird is the word on the outside, the Birdman trying to make moves.
Ooh, he's got a good run this time, but it's not enough to be able to chop him off. Can he carry the speed?
Battle of eights.
The 88 and the 888. He's trying his darndest. Just can't quite get the run to chop him off down into the corner. He's very close this time. Has to go in hot, but I don't think that's going to help him.
No, he just did not. He had way too much speed to bring it down to the apron on that attempt there. But he is holding his own out there for sure. And I'm surprised these guys are making that high line work, at least to some degree so far.
Look at Callisto up here at second. He's ready to make a move on Baldwin.
Right up on that rear bumper, he's got Brian Barnes ready to take advantage if something goes down between those two. But the number 2, hounding the number 5, sticking his nose in. The 5 is just about half a lane up, but there's not enough for Callisto to try and squeeze in there.
Sorry about that, Chris.
No, I was going to say, looking at the leader, he's already coming up on the back of lap traffic here. We've only been green for about 5 laps.
This is going to get interesting.
Because that's exactly what I was about to say. So,
great minds think alike.
And guess who it is that they're coming up to first? It's Seth Alberts. Oh boy. Okay, Seth, you've had some lessons here, buddy. Let's see what he's learned. Right now, he's still got a few more laps before Reynolds gets up on him, or does he? I thought he did.
And by a few, you mean now?
Yeah.
Alberts moves high here. He's going to let the leaders go. Good move.
All right, I think he knows how it's done. Good job, Seth. He's got his back Markers United card redeemed.
Well, and we talked about that in the B main, but sure, it's easy to go in that high lane, to get out of the way, but there's a fine line where the banking just falls off, and you go from being high to being off the track. So it's a challenge up there. Don't kid yourself.
Just run your groove. That's all you can do is just run the groove. The others will get around you. That's what it comes down to. Just communicate.
Well, hey, if you think there's cars that are hooked out there, I think Blake Reynolds is at the top of the list because he is at the top of the timing sheets right now. 2 seconds over Taft Baldwin. In short track terms, that's an eternity.
And if I remember this, that same Blake Reynolds who looked pretty fast in Bristol a few weeks ago and had some issues, but definitely showed he was one of the faster cars in that race.
We got a car off.
Scott Kukas. Yeah.
Going farming. First one in the A main.
Hashtag farm.
Number 065 manages to get back on, but unfortunately down in 31st. He's got a lot of race to go. A lot of cars to try and get back up on.
Well, fair enough, but, hats off to Scott, because when you get off the track like that, to actually get back on the track in a safe fashion and then get back in the groove and not fly right off the track immediately again, that actually takes a lot of skill.
Yeah, very tough, and that's good for him to get back on track safely. We got a fight here for 5th. I don't know if you're seeing this.
2 by 2. Ryan Bird there at the end of it, Wayne Hutchinson in there, Donovan Johns, and Chad Barker. Barker leads the field. He manages to sneak out ahead. It looks like Bird's going to have to slip back down to that low line. But Donovan Johns is not giving up. Number 37 trying to work that high line, get that darker groove to come in.
Good short track racing right here.
He is holding his own. Whatever iRacing did in this latest build with the track, it is working. We have never seen drivers on short track racing be this competitive up on the high side.
And the question is, how much better is it going to get here in the next 100 laps or so?
As long as we keep getting guys that try that. Oh, he goes very wide coming through 1 and 2.
Still got a good run.
Question is, are enough guys going to be able to run that high line to keep the marbles from starting to form? Meanwhile, battle for second place starting to erupt as well. Lionel Kalisto down to the inside of Taft Baldwin. Baldwin's going to have to slip back into the train, move him to P3. Brian Barnes still sitting in that popcorn position. Barnes known as one of the strong oval drivers in this league. They're coming up to set.
Oh no!
A little bit of a side swipe. Alberts goes wide, keeps it out of the dirt. Whew, let's go for a replay. Oh, and we got a caution, actually.
Oh, it's up here in turn 1 and 2. 1 car off, 2 cars off to 71, 3 cars off.
3 cars, yeah.
Brian Bennett.
Thank you, Count Von Count. All right, Bennett was one of the ones involved. Let's see if he started it. It's actually, yeah. He was hit by the 3 of Drew Lalonde. Gets turned around. Everybody tries to take evasive action. And that's when it hit the fan. Gary LaViolette involved in that. Is that the 065? Is that Kukas?
Yeah, after his good recovery, unfortunately got caught up in this one.
I have to imagine that's one of the disadvantages of being on that outside, is this being a little bit of a low bank, and that's where everything goes.
Yeah, it's just one of those simple deals where Lalonde just drove it in too deep into one, pushed the nose up, and bam, there was somebody on your outside. Just a tough break.
Watch it above for one more time. Gary LaViolette is in his stall for quite a while here. I'm not sure if he's taking repairs. He does seem to be taking tires. In fact, we got a few cars coming in and out.
I don't mind the strategy right here. This is where if you're in the back of the field, go get 2 tires, get back out, go take 2 more tires, and get out there, because you're 65 laps on these old tires. You could get some track position here.
But that's a good point, Chris, because, I mean, you're going to want to, especially if you're in the back of the field, you're going to want to take 2 tires and not 4, because if you take 4, you are going to go a lap down. So you're going to have to do it in 2 stints, or else you're going to lose more than track position. You're going to lose your lap.
How is that going to affect the handling, Chris, when you only take 2 outside versus inside? I mean, what does each do to your car?
Normally, I say normally because I haven't done it yet on the new build, your car frees up when you take only right side tires for a little bit till the tires even out. My assumption from what I've seen with this build is that it's going to make your car very loose by taking right side tires only. Now, if you get all 4, obviously you'll balance it back out. Now, you could also balance out your car by not taking fuel on the pit stop. So take 2 tires, fuel, that balances your car out, but you still got the 2 worn left side tires.
And I'm imagining 2 left sides will make it understeer then?
Safe to say that. Unfortunately, I can't really say I know the answer to that, because I've never tried the left side tires only except at Daytona and Talladega.
Well, because of what Trevor was saying, having to do it, 1 each, I'm assuming that's what would have to happen at some point, is you take left side tires instead of rights. But we'll see.
The ideal thing is you take 2 and then come back around, get as close to the base car, get back in and get the other 2.
Okay, I see. Interesting. So that'll be a fun dance for some of these guys, but the pace car lights are off once again. We're going to get to lap 69 here on this 250 lap race. Blake Reynolds, still your leader. He jumps immediately, does not wait at all, and Lionel Kalisto was watching. He slips into second, Taft Baldwin in third. Whoa, we got a bit of a moment behind him. That's Chad Barker, who manages to collect it. Beautiful job by that number 51.
Yeah, nice.
And everybody to avoid him. And they're still checking up behind. Look at the chain reaction this caused. Boy. Something happens in second place and you could be down in 30th and can affect you.
Yeah, absolutely. At this place, more than any other, I swear.
The car I'm going to be watching here is Michael Thompson, the 314, right now in 24th. He was that first car to get in there and get tires. Now, there were others who took pit stops, but I'm going to be watching some of these guys on the newer tires and see how they work their way through the field.
Got a little bit of a battle between Brian Barnes and Donovan John, side-by-side action for 4th and 5th. I think Barnes might not have it, though, as he's starting to slip back. In fact, Bird is there, is inside, wasn't able to get into the line. Is he going to try to now? Oh, just a little bit of contact. Gets sliding sideways, holds it
Nice
together.
save.
Wonderful save by the number 4. We're going to watch on board real quick. Hopefully nothing else happens here. And I don't blame him. His spotter said clear. He thought, I got to take this now or never. And Ryan Bird said, I got to take this now or never. And they came together.
And I tell you, Blake Reynolds is not getting away from Kalisto this time.
No.
He has him right on his back bumper, and I don't think it's going to be too much longer before we see Lionel trying to make a move here.
Well, they're already coming up to traffic once again. It's Seth Alberts, number 63, having been lapped already. I guess he got the lucky dog. He's back down to 1 lap down. He's going to go high, let it looks like both leaders through. Both
right
of them
now,
clean by.
Yeah, right now, lap 76, guys. This groove is already looking like it did at the B main finish. So I'm definitely intrigued now to see where this high line is going to come in. As a matter of fact, you look closely, you can see a high line almost there in black.
You know, and as that high line rubbers in, that's gonna help those guys with fresher tires because they're gonna have a little bit more grip. They're gonna have a little bit more options as to where they go. And if that caution out on the track.
I'm looking to see if I can find it.
71, Brian Bennett. Looks like
All
that's
right.
some help.
Yeah, that was Chris Beck who turned him around. And actually a nice recovery there from Bennett. There you can see just a nice little pirouette. Kind of sent him over the curb there. We're going to ride on board and see this tip happen. A little bit of an ambitious move from the 34.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the marshals might be taking a look at that one.
I would not doubt it. Let's watch it from above. Let's slow it down a little bit, see if we can figure out what our call would be. Yeah, I think that was just even though the 71 had left it open, there wasn't much space in there for the 34.
Yeah, he just kind of drove it in there and unfortunately made contact. I think you might be seeing some kind of UL or something here probably for him. But should mention, if you look closely out in front of that wreck, you will notice another farming incident with William Fletcher actually off the track there in turn 2.
Well, hopefully he's got the straw out of his mouth and he's put his racing suit back on. He's still got
Very nice.
lot of racing left to do.
Well, you know, and when you see stuff going on, I mean, it's an instinct to just kind of dive out into that grass, to just get off the surface. Like, things are going bad. Let's just get as far away from the track as possible in order to make sure you don't get caught up and stuff.
Which he did do. All right, we're not going to green quite yet here, but they're already getting prepared to double up, so I'm assuming lights are going to turn off this time by. Oh, guess we're going to do another one. So, not quite there yet. Chris, has anybody brought you food out on that fire truck out there yet?
Unfortunately, no. I'm being hosed so far on the food part.
Oh.
He had to go there. All right.
I got to climb the ladder to success, I guess.
Let's cut this one off while we still got a chance here.
Actually, while we have this overhead view, if you can actually see really distinctly the track rubbering up there, you can see that groove really taking shape now.
And like Chris pointed out earlier, you can see the groove is entirely around the tracks on the straightaway as well. That is phenomenal.
I think by the end of this race, you might see this whole track covered when it comes to the corners.
All right. They are now doubled up. You look at how tight they're trying to get. They don't want anybody to get away up there. But once again, Blake Reynolds has control. Lionel Kalisto, can he slide back down in? Yes, he can. A little bit behind. Donovan Johns gets caught on the high side. He's trying to cut off Ryan Bird, but Bird's got a nose in. Seth Alberts is down on the inside. He has nowhere to go. Everybody behind trying to find their way around. He cannot get up to the high side. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Just parking it. Don't even take it to the outside of the curb there, Seth. Oh, and the spinning in front of him. Smitty gets a bit of it. Gets a lot of it.
That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I think Seth Albert should have just maybe taken to the pit lane there. So you'll see Smitty gets tipped by D. Palmer as everybody was trying to find their lane around Seth Alberts. And thankfully, he's really the only one that got turned down. A few guys went fender to fender, but otherwise, it was a relatively small incident.
Yeah, and to be clear here, Seth Alberts, I mean, yes, he was, a slower car that was, the guys had to get around, but he did what he was supposed to do. He was holding his line.
Yep.
He did not actually vary from that. It was the guys trying to get around it and going 3 wide around him that was what caused that incident. So Seth did exactly what he was supposed to do there.
I think the one thing Seth could have done there, beside what Joe was saying, go to pit road, I think he could have easily went inside the curving and just kind of ran down there and let the cars go by. That probably would have been the only other thing he could have done.
Yeah, that's essentially what I meant. I guess I worded it wrong. Is just go inside of the curb at that point, because he really, I mean, he's not driving within, he's not racing against anybody directly at that point, so you might as well just kind of slow up, let everyone through, get to the tail of the field, hope for a couple more lucky dogs.
Yeah, but you know what, Joe? The problem is once you start doing that, the train never ends. There's never a safe time to get back on the track. If you start that game, you're just trapped down there forever. You might as well just be going around on the apron the rest of the race, because you're not going to find a hole.
I do want to mention I've been keeping track of those who have been on pit road, and right now the first car I have that has been on pit road, the highest running right now, would be 8th place, Rob Gall. So he has been kind of working his way up. He does have a kind of a beat up car, but he got his pit stop, and right now he's in 8th.
Well, we're getting a nice moment frozen in time of the Fujifilm car with all the damage all around it, but he's not doing too bad in 8th, as you mentioned. Might be paying off for him. Let's see what develops.
Hey, Richie here, I see what you did there. Richie Hearn. He's been on pit road. Donovan Johns, Drew Lalonde. I know they've had some damage. But we'll have to see how these tires work.
Michael Lane in 11th has taken a stop.
Lights are on. These pace laps are so short.
Well, you got 3/10 of a mile. They're going to be short. Even as slow as the pace car is going, about 40 miles an hour, it peels off. Reynolds goes a little bit later this time. I almost thought that
Callisto
was going to get him. Yeah,
it looked like Lionel tried to anticipate and then realized he wasn't going and had to check out.
Whoops. And apparently a few angry people getting black flags from that restart. I'm not sure if they maybe had a few jumps. Meanwhile, we got a car on the high side in Rob Gall. Remember, he was one of the drivers highest driver who's taken a pit stop. Oh, but he's trying to squeeze the number 57 of Herzog. That thankfully did not go the way that I thought it would, and he gave him some space.
Does anybody else see the 51 of Chad Barker just parked on the infield there?
Yep, he is in fact there.
He just stopped.
I think he must have a hardware issue.
That's not good.
No, actually, he spun himself. It looks like it was about 4 or 5 laps ago.
I know he's not trying to come join me on a truck.
Maybe he heard you talking and said, I got some food for you.
Huh. So, whatever the case may be, actually, no, he's still sitting out there. And now he's exited and gone to his pit stall. So, there you can see the spin that sent him out. He did get a bit of the jump that I mentioned there, Trevor.
Airtime confirmed.
14 driving in deep.
That's
Beltrami. That was close. I was going to drive in there on the 8 of Nichols.
Nicholas Hunt manages to sneak by, though. Oh, and a little bit of a bump from Beltrami, going to shove him out of the way. The 04 slips high, but Beltrami can't take advantage of it. We got a caution.
Oh, turn 1, 3 cars off. We got Farmers.
Drylene is involved in it.
And Ethan
Moore
Moore
has some serious damage.
Yeah, Palmer was the first of them. And actually, this started well before turn 1. Palmer was slow coming out of 3 and 4 for some reason. Smitty got into the back of him, tried to catch it about 3 or 4 times, and finally Smitty tapped him once more and sent him into the pack that was streaming around the outside. Here we're riding on board Smitty's view.
Looked like the 27 got into the back of Palmer coming out of 4. And Palmer was trying to save it, and it just kind of chain reactioned into 1.
Well, Palmer's now coming in for a stop. He must have got a good thwack from the side. And actually just took his free repair, so there's one driver we know that's taken his.
Guys, I was just watching the leader there, and it almost looked like he just got tagged by Dreiling during this pacing.
Yeah, I'm seeing Taft Baldwin in the lead now. What? Okay. All right, we're going to see if we can get this.
Okay, so Reynolds was coming out of the pits by the looks of it, and when he came back out on the track, looked like he got right in front of Dreiling.
Which makes sense because we're close to 100 laps in now, aren't we? Or are we over 100?
We hit lap 100 right now. 101.
Well, there you go. Exactly what we were talking about.
So that's the first time we've seen some of these, these leaders really come in for some fresh tires. So this is going to be good because we know Blake's got a good car, although slightly more dented than it was before. But it'll be interesting to see if he can actually race up to the front now.
And just to recap, for those who just joined us, 9 cautions for 40 laps so far, and this 101 laps that are complete with 2 lead changes.
And let's go through our top 10 now that pit stops have shuffled that up. Taft Baldwin is now up into the lead. This is his first time leading. Nicholas Hunt is going to be slotted up in a second. Mark Herzog, he won the B main. Let's see if he can win the A main as well. He's in third. Richie Hearn, real world driver. We always like to keep an eye on, see how he fares in all the various forums. He is in fourth. Michael Lane fifth. Donovan John sixth. Gary Nichols in seventh. Drew Lalonde in 8th, Brian Barnes in 9th, and William Fletcher in 10th as the green flag waves and Taft Baldwin leads them away.
Blake Reynolds going to restart 11th on the fresh tires. Let's see how if he gets to that high side and goes to work again.
Top guys starting to get single file. However, it looks like Richie Hearn is hung out to dry. He's got Michael Lane sneaking to the inside, but he's not going to give up easily. Gets left in the dust, though. Car not liking that high side.
I saw smoke in now, turn 1.
That was, no caution yet. That was Jared Morgan who gets it going amazingly. Wow. Let's look at the replay.
Yeah, I didn't see who in front stretch. I saw smoke, but I didn't see who it was.
Oh, that was Ryan Bird. And that was uninvolved with what we see in the first corner here. Wayne Hutchinson got into the back of Morgan, turned him completely around, but off the racing line, importantly, and Morgan just gets it going like nothing happened. We're back live now. And they're going 3 wide right now, actually, both Morgan and Bird, as they work either side of Seth Alberts, with the car off just to the outside of them. Bird way up into this gray stuff. He makes the run off the corner. So Bird able to hold on to 20th.
And watching back with Blake Reynolds, he is up to 9th position, and he has jumped into that high line and trying to make a move on Brian Barnes, and can't quite make it stick yet, but looks like he's eventually going to get this position, and looks like he's made the pass into... Oh, no, I spoke too soon.
Barnes gets very close to turning that left rear quarter panel of the 76.
It seems like you got to let the tires heat up before you can jump up there. You run the bottom about 2, 3, 4 laps, and then bam, jump up there, and it should work for you. That's what it looks like from what I've been seeing.
So order of the top guys has not changed much.
Yeah, looks like he gets down to that low lane, Reynolds does, and then waits a lap or 2 behind, then jumps out to that high lane and tries to make that pass. So he's got a plan.
We've got a lap car here in front. 3 wide. Yikes.
Makes it work, though. But he got a spin in front of him. He goes high and manages to miss it. Who is that spun? Lane gets tagged after he gets turned.
Spinning. Over in turn 3.
We're going to watch Michael Lane get turned around. Now, who is this that touched him here? Looks like that was Donovan Johns.
And then you're going to see after this, you stick with Johns. He's going to get tagged with Nichols over in 3.
see. Oh, and it sounds like Gary Nichols actually got a black flag for cutting the course.
Well, Nichols,
Yeah,
the first car tonight to go one-on-one with the Dirt Hills.
Going to watch on board Donovan Johns. Just gets that car in front turned around. Obviously not intentional.
And that's too bad for Lane, because he had actually come from a. He was one of the cars who had got the lucky dog earlier in the race and was making a nice recovery to get up there in the top 10s. But unfortunately, not going to work out so good for him right now.
Yeah, he is down to 26 after that incident. I'm seeing Ryan Bird getting, he was getting some repairs. I think he's stopped into his pit stall and now has to wait for the field to go by. If it ever ends. There you go. There, now he can accelerate away. 115 laps, 116 laps into this 250 lap race, and track is getting very, very dark with rubber. Nicholas Hunt is now leading, as it was Taft Baldwin who was leading before, if I remember correctly. He took a pit stop, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Look who's running second, guys.
Mark
the B-Main winner.
He's one of the few drivers not to pit, though. Same thing with Nicholas Hunt. Richie Hearn, highest driver who has pitted. He's sitting in the third. He's got one stop under his belt.
And remember, we talked to Herzog between the B and the A main, and he was saying, I'm just hoping to get out there and, end up maybe a top 20, and here he is in second position.
All right, looks like the lights are off on the pace car. Nicholas Hunt going to be leading them away in the 04. Pace car peels off. He's taking his sweet time. A few guys getting checked up as they tried to get a run. Still, Herzog is able to slide into that second place.
I should say Baldwin does have 4 tires, by the way, guys.
And look at Blake Reynolds. He did not waste time to get back up to the front, already squeezing his way around the outside, looking to try and take second off of Herzog. He might be able to get it done.
Blake is the one guy who has got that top lane figured out so far that we've seen. Other guys have tried it and they've maybe had a little bit of success, but he's the only guy who seems to be consistently making passes up there.
Go back to the Bristol race, Joe. Remember who had the bottom line working at Bristol? Blake Reynolds.
Blake Reynolds. He likes to try and work the anti-strategy here.
That's the old common sense rule. Go where they ain't.
Well, he's not done yet. Herzog has held him off pretty well in that 57. However, we saw Reynolds take the lead around the outside earlier on. Can he take second place and then maybe eventually the lead with the same move all over again, getting very close? I think there was maybe a slight bit of contact with the 57.
Wow, I tell you, Blake has a lot of confidence in Herzog there, because he is squeezing him down to one lane. He is having a lot of confidence that he's not going to come.
We got a grenaded engine, the 48. Kyle Murphy. Have our first barbecue of the night.
And Reynolds does make that pass.
Wow. That is just impressive stuff from the number 76. And look at him instantly leave Herzog in the dust, not waiting around.
And here he goes on the outside looking for the lead.
He loves that high side. Oh my goodness, look at this. Can he get this done in one corner?
That's amazing.
One corner. Unbelievable. Nicholas Hunt, admittedly though, on 125 lap old tires, but even still. And look who's coming along with him, Lionel Callisto. He's coming back to the fore. He's got fresher tires.
Should mention, boys, we just hit the halfway point.
And Callisto has moved himself up into fourth. He's now coming up on Mark Herzog, trying to break into the podium. Seth Albert's coming up on the high side. They're going to go 3 wide. Can he get some room? Yes, he does.
Boy.
Nice job by the 63. And, you know, if we had to pick a second person that's really been making work, I feel like Kalisto, who almost makes contact with a 57, is the other driver who's really been making moves, and we got a caution.
I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Kyle Murphy, maybe? No, that's not Kyle Murphy. All right, your guess is as good as mine. We got a phantom.
Somebody
yellow here.
Somebody threw a water bottle out on the
Yeah,
track.
apparently. Yeah, I actually cannot find it right now.
Well, I'll just do my friendly trick here. I always try. Just put it on the pace car until the lights come on, then go find a car that's spun.
It's a good idea, actually. Gonna maybe try and do that right now.
I'm working on it.
So we, oh, it sounds like Brian Bennett's going to get the lucky dog as we try to figure out who in the world
I
has
found your
spun.
wreck. It is the 53 of... Helps if my buttons would work here.
Yeah, oh, it looks like, no, it was ahead of Carl Burke. It was William Fletcher. Though Burke did get turned a little bit. Nobody actually went fully around. They just got spun slightly sideways, and it was enough to send the marshals into a frenzy, and yellow flags came out.
Well, after everything we've seen, where everything escalates, they probably were just, the marshals are up there going, you know what, this is going to get big, so let's just go down.
You see on the replay, Fletcher getting spun. We're going to go on board with Burke to see what he saw over the dash. Looks like, I think Burke got a little bit of the curb, it looks like, so that may have sent him up into him.
Hashtag curb stomp?
Absolutely. Doesn't matter how many times you race around here, it's so tempting to get down to that low line, get nice and tight. Fortunately, it bit the number 53. And are the lights off already?
They are.
All right. We spent so much time trying to find the caution. Caution's over. All right. Blake Reynolds, back to where he likes to be. P1, he's led 82 laps. It's going to make it 83 here. Green flag is out. 57 tries to chop off. Whoa! Reynolds gets tipped from behind, but they all managed to hold it together. But we got an accident behind them. Big accident behind them.
Yeah, they held it together, but everybody reacted, and that caused a big one.
Looks like Barnes was involved in that. Sad to see after he's been having such a good day. Came down on Donovan Johns. That started them spinning. Johns gets turned around. Barnes gets run into. Looks like is that
Baldwin
Richie
got a
Hearn that
piece of
gets
it?
turned? Michael Thompson, no, gets turned around.
Wow, Barnes gets run into, then run into again, and then run into again.
Well, he's got 30 cars left on the track to hit him, so gonna go on board Hearn, see what he saw here. Wow. And he still comes out pointing forward, but not with a clean car by any stretch of the imagination.
Something else I want to point out, guys. If we can get on board with Michael Smith for a lap here, watch when going off track actually works out for you.
We're gonna see if we can spool that replay up. And he actually got some help. He didn't have much choice here. He was going high. he took the escape road, which I think leads to the pits usually. What is the outside pits, I would say.
Which it worked out for when it was all over with.
Yeah, you can't see it, but he gets tipped right about here. And it just, well, the car's pointed this way. This is asphalt. Might as well just keep going. Nothing in front of him. Well, Smitty doesn't have the best of luck this season, but that was decent luck that moves him into 9th now.
It's safe to say now, as I look at the numbers here, it looks like everybody has been on pit road at least once now for tires. So obviously it's a different strategies here and there, so you don't know who has fresher tires. I can say that Baldwin has fresher tires than Callisto and Reynolds.
So you're saying Baldwin's tires are no longer bald?
Yes, he could win.
Oh, boy.
Oh, this is a bad combination up in the booth. All right, your order.
Where's
Blake
Soup?
Reynolds back into the lead with Lionel Callisto in second. Taft Baldwin in third. Bob Beltrami is in fourth position. He's been up and down the order and all over the place. Richie Hearn, despite that, oh, well, no, never mind. Despite the incident, he is actually heading in to get his damage repaired. So he's going to slip down the order. That's going to promote Drew Lalonde up into the top 5. Brian Barnes, despite getting spun and hit again, he is still in 6th. And pace cars, lights are off. Did Hearn exited, I think. Hearn is out of the sim.
He hasn't exited yet, at least on my screen.
Oh, he's not out on the track, but...
Well, we
Blake
got a green
Reynolds,
flag, though.
Yeah. Takes the lead once again. This time, Lionel Callisto gets down to that line clean. Taft Baldwin into third. Everybody in the top 4 in single file right away. Brian Barnes trying to work that popular high side.
How about the car on his inside there? Drew Lalonde up to 5th. Oh, we got cars off the track here. We got some farming.
They're able to get back on without incident. Almost a 4 wide moment there for a bit, though. 3 gets squeezed a little bit by the 4. Brian Barnes still trying to sneak his way by. He's got a good run. Can he try and slam down to the inside line? Now he's got it.
But I mean, you saw how hard of a time those guys were having trying to get back out on the track, and that's a key thing here at this place.
Yeah, you got to go just fall back till you find the back of the line and jump in, which works now, but 10 laps from now, it's not going to work.
We still have 29 cars out there running. We have Chad Barker in his pit stall, I'm assuming taking some repairs, hoping to try and get back out there and see what he can salvage. Otherwise, everybody is out on track and going besides our retirees.
Oh, turn 1. Nice save. The 88 Partridge, and he ain't happy with somebody.
Oh, we had a 3 wide moment just now. He gets shuffled back 1 more. We're going to look at the replay to see what started this craziness. Looks like it was the 8 of Nichols tipping him in the back. That was a very good save.
Yeah, them two have been kind of talking back and forth the last 100 laps about different things. I don't know if there's some kind of bad blood developing there, but it is a short track.
And he got a hip check from Kyle Murphy just to add insult to injury.
But what is it with cars with the number 8 in their numbers? It's
there.
just there's something in the air tonight.
Well, that's my number usually, so I'm glad I'm not out there.
Read this about Hearn. Got DQ'd for not serving a required repairs flag.
Oh no! You gotta serve the meatball. You can't stay out.
Meatballs are good.
Serve the meatball. Go to the meatball.
Sorry. Joe, you happy you get your food reference from me?
Yeah, there we go. All right. Apparently, he says he didn't see it. Car was driving fine. I'm not sure.
I've seen
maybe
that
he has
happen before.
triple screens and he didn't notice it all the way off in the corner.
Could be that. Could be a glitch too. You never know.
Could be. Well, Reynolds has been pacing Callisto. Callisto's not giving up on him, but he's got a nice handy half-second gap. Meanwhile, Baldwin is dropping back a little bit. He's about a whole second back, and you got a huge gap back to Brian Barnes in 4th, who's holding off Bob Beltrami. Man, what a shame is that for Richie Hearn. He was up there.
He was doing fine, and what I'm kind of disappointed to see is that there's not a way where the admin can clear that or something so he can go.
Yeah, by the time you get DQ'd, there's nothing the admin can do. You're gone.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, things are starting to string out now. We're seeing a lot of single-file racing, a lot fewer guys going too wide through the corner.
We're going to have the Oxford Plain conveyor belt going here in about 5 laps.
In fact, I'm trying to see who is the highest side-by-side action we got. I think it's Ray Partridge currently on the outside of Ethan Moore.
We do got a battle here for 10th. Gary Nichols and Mike Thompson.
Nichols in the 8 on the inside. Thompson was the teammate of Hearn. He's slipping backwards. In fact, he's not fighting with 8 anymore. And he's not even fighting with Wayne Hutchison anymore as he loses a position to him. Talk about a car that doesn't like the high line. I'd say it is Michael Thompson. Now he can finally get low behind the 57 of Herzog.
Well, and this is also, too, you're looking at mid-pack now. How many of these guys have fresh tires compared to Thompson?
It's a good question. The strategy at this point is really shuffled together, and I do not know who is on what.
Look at the leaders here.
Oh, wow. Is this lap
mess?
traffic?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Conveyor belt.
My goodness. Blake Reynolds is the 76 in that mess if you can spot him. And almost 3 wide in front of him. He does not want to get caught up in this. If something starts to erupt in front of him, that could end his day in a hurry.
Yep. And he's got Lionel right behind him, so he doesn't have time to just kind of take it easy. He's, he makes one mistake, gets trapped behind the wrong guy, and he's going to get pounced on.
He tries to chop off that lap traffic. Oh, and Kalisto gets turned. Holds it together. Actually, he gets tipped straight by another lap car. That was Jared Morgan. Let's look at the replay.
Tires turned better than 4 on 2 different occasions.
Well, in actual fact, both the first and second got tapped at the same time by different cars. Because Blake got tapped at the exact same time that Lionel did.
Well, the good news for Kalisto is that Tap Baldwin was way behind him, so Baldwin is only just now caught up, and Kalisto holds on to second despite that big moment. Meanwhile, Nicholas Hunt himself is in quite a battle. He's got Smitty actually on his outside. Smitty, despite all the stuff that... Oh, wait, no, that's not Smitty. That's Barnes. Barnes trying to hold on, but as I was about to say, that is Smitty behind him in the 27 and 6. Despite all the adventures he's been in, he's still in the top 10. I don't know how.
I would say you keep your car clean, but he's had his issues.
I feel like we've called his name being involved in at least 5 of the caution flags that have come out.
You talk about clean cars there, Chris. I dare you. Oh, wait. And we have a caution note on the track.
He was thanking somebody.
He is probably not happy with Ryan Bird.
Yep, that Triple Eight.
Sent him around. You see it on the replay. Wow, he got lucky with traffic.
Wow, thread the needle there.
With Kyle Murphy. We're going to watch from onboard Bird first as he gets him turned around. Let's jump back a little bit in time and watch Murphy get his heart in his throat. Boy, there was about inches to spare between himself and Hutchison. You see the car getting turned in front, comes back up the track, dive low, and you're safe.
Wow. Yeah, Blake Reynolds, our leader, is into the pits getting fresh tires on here, so...
Now, what in the world? The 83 Seth Alberts turned on to what I'm guessing is the Legends course? What is he doing? All right, short track guys, enlighten me. What in the world was Seth Alberts doing?
Getting lost, perhaps?
Maybe?
It's actually easy on this track.
Maybe he has a pit stall back there.
Well, no, he went into his normal pit stall. The 63 is in there currently. All right.
Was he really trying to see if I'm on the truck or not?
Maybe. I'm lost on this one.
Well, you know what, guys? I mean, we talked about it pre-race, and this pit lane is actually very hard to see. So, he could have very honestly thought that was pit entry, and all of a sudden decided that he had to follow it to where it went.
He had to have been into his pit stall a few times by now, though.
Again, I've been here. I have got it right once, and then got it right the second time.
Point. Yeah. Well,
and then he actually went. I followed it back. He went to go into his pit, and then got tagged and missed going into the pit by the 31 car. So, man, Seth Alberts is definitely getting some screen time tonight.
Probably not the way that he wants
not
to.
for the right reasons.
Meanwhile, I don't even know if I want to call who this new leader is, but we're gonna have to because I think we're getting the restart.
He's actually second. Taft Baldwin's leading.
There we go. Okay, so Smitty on the outside of Taft Baldwin, who gets the green flag.
Ooh, and a heck of a jump on Smitty.
Wow.
Yeah, and Smitty doesn't even try to come down right away.
I'm trying to see. It's Thompson. He drove it way deep into one and just went straight.
Oh, did the 63 just hit the wall coming onto the front stretch? Further adventures for Albert says, is that Blake Reynolds going
That's
for
Reynolds.
a ride? Oh, and Gary Nichols starting to get tipped. We got two cars together below the curve. They managed to hold
That's
on.
Callisto, too.
Yeah. Wow. Everyone behind getting checked up, trying to sort themselves out. They're about 3 wide,
Oh, my
2
gosh.
rows deep.
Talladega
4
racing.
wide.
Oh, my
Car going
gosh.
sideways. He's off on the outside. Who is that? That is Morgan.
And look out, Alberts is following him.
So all that craziness and no caution.
Alberts and Michael Lane went off turn 3, and now another car off in turn
that
3.
was Trozine.
Trozine.
Going farming.
It's like every lap, somebody's like, hey, there's grass over here. Let me check that out.
This is where we say it's not greener on the other side.
I think at this point, I just saw Seth Alberts on the outside once again. I think he's just riding the dirt. I think he's done with trying to stay on the track.
Might be the safest place for him, unfortunately.
All right, so your order up front now that has all sorted itself out.
Somebody got
Baldwin
turned.
No
Backstretch?
caution, though.
I didn't. Yeah, I think it was Herzog who actually got turned. Oh, now there's a big accident behind Herzog.
And everybody scatters. Unfortunately, I think Seth Alberts is involved in it once again. Actually, oh, yes, he is. Very much so. He came down. Although I will say, in his defense, it looks like Ethan Moore was trying to force a 3-wide situation when probably it shouldn't have happened. There, yeah, that gap was disappearing in a hurry. I mean, Ethan was fighting for position at the time, but
In defense of Ethan, too, he had cars right behind him. He really couldn't do much.
well, he is able to get it going again. The 027 is still out there. However, he's in 15th now. Taft Baldwin is pitting, taking tires. That will promote Michael Smith up into the lead, the number 27. And I think that's about the only time we really want that car on screen. We'll probably have to focus on someone else now.
Are you saying we got another Yazik?
We've seen so much of Smitty seem like something's good going to happen, and then everything falls apart. So I am not superstitious, but I've done commentated enough to believe that the curse is real.
Don't doubt the curse.
Yes, the second you doubt it, that's when it bites you. Blake Reynolds, though, man, what a recovery. Remember, he was almost getting sideways, getting tipped on one of those restarts, and he's still in second place. If we had to get a pick, I think Reynolds is my top one to come home with the top step of the podium.
Yeah, I mean, and he has recently been on pit road too, so it's, he's had a couple pit stops, so he's got fresh tires, and he's still managing to gain that that track position back after these pit stops. So he's doing an excellent job.
Donovan Johns gets the lucky dog, and by the way, 14 cars still left on the lead lap out of 34 who started the race.
We still got, 28 on track, I'm seeing? 27?
Looks like it might be the case. We had a few cars sitting in the pit stalls, either getting repairs, getting tires. I think 29 total, but I don't know. Actually, you know what? You're right, 28, because Chad Barker's been in his stall for a long time, and I think he's about 90 laps down or something at this point.
And we only have, 65 laps to go as we go, or 67 to go as we come up on a green flag?
Yep, and it looks like Smitty's going to get the restart here. Pace car peels off. Oh, he's waiting a long time. Now he goes. Is Blake Reynolds going to get
He
a
might
black
get a black
flag?
flag.
I don't know.
Oh, this is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think Reynolds
is
hit the
up in
line
the lead.
way before Smitty did.
Well, it's
Was
not a
that
matter of,
intentional?
we got trouble with 3.
And Gary Nichols is involved in it. He gets hit
The 4
multiple
Barnes.
times. I think Nichols was the first one. Yeah, you're right. And Barnes tipped him. And with that restart, there's just another case of who wasn't involved in it. Thankfully, only Nichols and Barnes really got the worst of things.
That's one of those deals where you get turned by a guy and you finish that guy off for hitting you at the end.
All right, well, Reynolds, well, no, I guess he can't serve a black flag during a yellow, so maybe we'll only find out when we go back to green as we watch on board Nichols here. And the number 8, as we mentioned earlier, he's been involved in a lot of the incidents. I guess you could say if he had a nickel every time he got turned.
You could
Nothing
say
for
that,
that
but you
one?
don't. But you don't have to say
Nothing
that.
for that one? All right, that's the one that shut everybody up.
That one there, Joe Barnes.
Okay, so we are hearing a little bit from race control, but I couldn't quite make out what they were saying. The cars that are still potentially in this race but not out there, I see Dee Palmer in his pit stall and Seth Alberts. You know, actually, Seth Alberts has been in there for a while. I think Alberts may have finally parked it. The good news for him is that he will get a 28th if he doesn't come back out. I think the stewards are investigating that last incident is what's going on. They've mentioned netcode.
Well, lights are off.
Oh, somebody's grenaded an engine.
Yeah, I just heard an engine explode somewhere.
Brian Barnes' engine has expired.
Barnes just went Derek Cope in turn 1.
Well, we're going back to green. No time to sit on it because Blake Reynolds gets the restart. And wow, Smitty was sleeping there. He loses second. He loses third. He's down to 4th. The number 3 of Lalonde is coming up on him.
How about Beltrami there in the 7th position, the 14?
Yeah, he is back into this thing. Finally, Smitty's able to get into line in 5th place. But Lionel Callisto, who has proven to be a force, is back in this game. Now, if I remember correctly, Lionel won the last round, didn't he? Well, I believe he took his first Pac Majors win at Bristol. So that's 1 short track to his name. Can he make it 2? Meanwhile, Mark Herzog has the car looking to the inside. Drew Lalonde sneaks his way down. Wow, chops off Smitty at the nose, though. Oh, but Smitty sneak in. Just
one
tips him on
car,
the outside.
turn 1, saved it. Looks like the 26, 28 of Fletcher. Nice save.
And Barnes is actually back out here.
So he must have
blown engine.
Yeah, must have had his spare car just hauled off the hauler with a new engine.
Ah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Oh, wow, look at this gap. 2 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. Reynolds and Callisto have checked out, and we were talking about it earlier. These two have been the ones to make the high line work. Now they've got the low line all to themselves for at least a couple more laps.
And you got a battle for 30 or Michael Smith, Smitty.
The outside, we've got Drew Lalonde, but looks like he's starting to give that up because Taft Baldwin has snuck by him. That number 3 doesn't like the high line. Back down into single file he goes. Drew Lalonde can be moved to P5. And fact, this is the most single file we've seen in a while.
One car off the pace here. Michael Lane on the front stretch.
Probably just trying to find a safe place to get back into the conveyor belt and can't find one.
I think right there is perfect for him until they get cleared here.
And yep, he's not going to make it back on. Yep, Lane's just going to do a few laps down on the pit entry. Oh, we had a car very sideways for a moment. It looks like that was William Fletcher once again. He was trying to get inside a dryland. We got a caution. Carl Burke gets the car turned around. He's on the wrong side of the pit wall.
He's just going to go visit his pit crew rather than his actual pit stall.
Number 50.
Oh, somebody got a curb stomp.
Looks like Donovan Johns was the one that kicked that off. Yeah, just a little bit of curb, and he was right at the wrong spot to tip number 53 around. You're going to see it from above. It's coming into 3. He's just a little bit low. There's no room there, and there's no control when you get the car hopping. So after all those battles, Blake Reynolds still our leader. Lionel Callisto is in second. Smitty has managed to get back into third after what was a horrendous restart. Taft Baldwin is in fourth, and Drew Lalonde rounds out your top 5.
Should mention Blake Reynolds led 135 out of the 201 laps that are now completed, so he's been the guy up front.
In fact, of the 34 cars that started this race, 33 I guess technically, we have only had 5 different leaders. Reynolds, as you said, with the most. Chad Barker is next in line with only 26, so quite a gap there. Taft Baldwin's led 24, Nicholas Hunt 12, and Michael Smith has led 4.
Looks like Brian Barnes coming back into the pits, which is a bit weird considering, or was that Barnes that was coming in there? I'm not sure. It looked like him.
Yeah,
but,
that's Barnes.
But yeah, because I mean, he obviously just got his new car after he grenaded his engine, so I'm not sure what else he needs.
Well, maybe he got a little bit of bumping around, or maybe he's just not happy with the cars that he's around and he wants to try and get out of the way.
Maybe he wants to stop off for a popsicle.
Well, yeah. He is in 24th, and he's more than a lap down. I suspect this is his strategy to get to the tail of the line. The lights off on the pace car here? Looks like they are. Blake Reynolds has got a lot of practice leading the field to green, and he's going to get one more try.
If you're Callisto,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you're Callisto, you got to be ready here because he's been jumping it pretty good.
Absolutely, yeah. And he is ready. Look at that. Both of them jumping. Callisto wasted no time. Timed it perfectly. Meanwhile, side-by-side action for third. Up on the high side, Taft Baldwin around the outside of Smitty. Can he get it done? Smitty comes back at him from down on the low side. Tries to carry the speed off. Almost come together on the straightaway. And behind them, in the number 3, is Drew Lalonde in the popcorn position, waiting to see how this is going to play out, but I don't think the 3 has got the speed. And he's going to stay in 4th. Yeah. Oh, and we got a car low once again. This is Ray Partridge.
Ooh, that's not a good idea. One car stopped in the middle there. Didn't see who that was.
But Partridge did a beautiful job getting up into the racing line. He got his speed up. He didn't hold anybody up at all.
Yeah, just kind of slid right into the track, just like it was nobody's business.
That is how it's done. He's 3 laps down, but he's not getting in anybody's way at the moment, unless he's really holding Smitty up here.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're Smitty, you're saying something like, dude, get out of my way.
Ooh, like that moment where he almost gets into him. Thankfully, Partridge knows to run up the track, and it looks like he's going to let him through. Oh, but he gets run into behind by Taft Baldwin. That was not a soft blow.
Now, Joe, you've heard me say this before, and I know, Trevor, you might not have ever heard me say this before, but short track racing, if your right side is worn out, you've got a fast car. If your left side's worn out, you're slow. Remember that.
Well, once again, Reynolds and Callisto starting to stretch away a little bit from these guys, getting themselves a gap. If we get a short run at the end, it's going to be down to the number 2 and the number 76. I'm calling it now.
Oh, definitely. I mean, these guys have been the class of the field all night long. I mean, and even when they were back in the pack, they were nose to tail, when they were fighting after pit stops. So these guys have outclassed everybody. They just got to make sure that their strategy ended up getting them in the front, and that's exactly what's happened.
Well, the question comes down to is who saved their tires and how much. Because, if Reynolds has worn them out, Callisto's going to get them, and it could be vice versa. But how about Smitty? He's only about a second back and doing a good job.
He's in a podium position at this point, and if something goes down between those two, that could be P1. We're running out of laps too, guys. Less than 40 to go. A little bit behind, there's a battle between Nick Hunt and Rob Gall.
You know what, guys? We've seen Blake Reynolds out front for a lot of this race, but I'm kind of watching the way that Callisto is attacking these corners, and I think he's probably saving his tires a little bit and just kind of following in line, keeping pace, and I think he's waiting until it gets a little bit further into the race to actually just make that move and make that pass. But I'm going to keep my eye on Callisto. I think he's going to pass Blake before the end of this race.
He played the patient game when we watched them race at Bristol. Could be doing it all over again, as Trevor said. Just waiting for the right moment, letting the race come to him.
Speaking of Callisto, we did have confirmation from the chat that he did win the 2015 Daytona 500. So the Bristol race not last week, but last time these guys were out was his second win.
There we go. All right. Didn't have my stats close enough to me.
We need a statistician in the office there, Joe. Can you make that happen?
I wish, but Nichols once again getting into the action.
Oh, we got a mess over turn 1. Nichols just got
there's
turned.
An accident, and it's the 8 involved in it again. So we might as well just
17,
stay
one car's
on
on its top. Herzog.
There you can see.
Oh,
that
Reynolds just made contact.
Oh, and Callisto's damaged.
There you can see with all the checkup, that's what started to cause it. A lot of cars getting involved. Fletcher in there, I believe.
Oh, Callisto his engine is gone here.
Reynolds too. This is huge.
Let's watch the leaders.
Watch the 8 car. The 8 did not hold his brakes and came right up in front of the leader.
Disappointment for 2 of the fastest drivers. What happened to Smitty in all this? Did Smitty manage to avoid it?
And then the 8 car hit the 2 as well. It's almost like the 8 car had something out for the leaders.
I'm not going to put a tinfoil hat on quite yet here. Okay, so we know that Blake Reynolds is going to have to dive in, and it looks like he's gotten his free car. He's back out in 8th.
Looked like the 17 was the one that connected with the 2 at the end there. But yeah, I have no clue why you did not hold the line there once he spun. He just tried to turn it around.
Wow.
Wonder if the stewards are going to take a look at that.
Oh, I would say so.
Lionel Callisto, he's not the first car in line. That's Mark Herzog trying to get his lap back. Callisto is P1 right now, and Smitty is now bumped up into P2.
But Callisto's got the damage, so I don't know how. And Reynolds has got a new car now, too, so.
Oh, and Reynolds is going to be storming through. We've already seen him do that before.
Yeah, and Callisto didn't get a lot of damage. There was a lot of low speed collisions there. He kind of got tagged by the 8, which sent him into the 17, but it wasn't high speed, so he probably doesn't have that bad of a car.
Well, hopefully, hoping that maybe his tip with the 17, because that was right on his left rear, that it didn't damage his suspension.
That right front is pretty damaged on that too. If you look at that closely, you can see the tires sticking out. The quarter panel there is smashed in.
All right, are we going to go one to go this time? Looks like it. Wave around goes to Herzog. They get double file.
Unofficially, I have Reynolds starting 12th on this restart. He's going to have a high line.
20 laps to go, and he likes that high line. Can he get his way back to the front? What does Lionel Kalisto have with the restart? He does not wait at all. Smitty gets caught out sleeping. Taft Baldwin to the inside. He's going to lose that second position. Number 5 managed to sneak down, and wow, Smitty wastes no time in getting to the low side. Up on the high side, Nick Hunt is trying to make it work. Working around the 31 of Rob Gall. I don't think it is working for that 04. He had a little bit of room for a moment, but now it disappeared. Can he get down to the low side? Still not there as Donovan Johns is trying to squeeze him out. Now he can get down. But Lionel Kalisto is not running away like we saw Reynolds do earlier. These guys are holding on to him. I wonder if his pace has been affected.
Yeah, I think that damage is getting him, Joe.
Blake Reynolds, if you were wondering, is in 12th at the moment.
Ooh, and he just went all kinds of sideways going down the backstretch and into turn 3.
He was looking sideways all the way through 3 and 4 as well. Did he have a spare car left?
Oh, he did. For sure. That car is in pristine shape. So he's got a new car, but he's stuck back in there in this traffic, and it looks like he's overdriving it and probably seeing a little bit of red mist, I'd imagine.
Yeah, especially in an incident where the incident should have been over and he should not have been involved. That has got to be extremely frustrating. Still not able to make up any positions. He's got a car between himself and William Fletcher. That's the lap car number 17 of Wayne Hutchison. But meanwhile, second place, Smitty wants that one back. He is rocked up to the back of Taft Baldwin, looking for an opportunity to get by. We got 16 laps to go, guys.
Yeah, Smitty's done a great job here, and he's been able to get to him, but just not able to get around him here. 12 cars on the lead lap, I think I just last checked, so still got plenty of time here to make your moves, especially if you're up here in the top 5.
Oh, well, Smitty was looking to the inside of Taft there and decided not to stick the nose in, which was probably the wise move, but he is getting closer and closer as the laps go down.
I think he's looking to see where an opportunity is, and he sees one, but it's not quite there. He stuck his nose in on the backstretch as he had a good run.
Got to put that bumper to work.
I think that 27 is faster than the 5 right now.
And Kalisto is loving this because he is stretching out that lead as Taft has to play a little bit of defense here with Smitty behind him.
This is, as you said, definitely helping Kalisto put that buffer together, almost a second between them. Here we go, a good opportunity, but once again, Smitty showing a lot of patience, not sticking his nose in when he could have forced the issue.
Wow.
Here we ride on board with Baldwin.
And Blake Reynolds just went 45 degrees through 3 and 4. He is just drifting this entire track right now.
He might be on the same tires he was on before. And that could be what's getting him.
Yeah, he's running out of time. He's in 11th place now. He was 12th a few laps ago. He is not making up positions. Oh, look at Smitty coming off the corner. Smitty's to the inside. He's got the position. Can Taft Baldwin hold that high side? A number of drivers have been able to all day. Smitty's now got a nose ahead. Low side much more rubbered in. It's been favored late in the race. And look at that P2 to Smitty for the number 27.
Very nice move.
But can he run down Kalisto? That's the question. He's got a second up to the leader. And only 8 laps to do it. I don't think that's going to be possible unless we see a mistake from Kalisto. He does have traffic. Tom's Riley a little bit up the road.
Yeah,
At time by, he was a little bit faster.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough traffic ahead of Callisto to really play into it too much. So he's really in the seat right now in order to make this win happen with these guys a little bit farther behind.
Last time by, Smitty a little bit slower than Callisto. Wonder if Callisto's turning it on now.
Safe to say, boys, we are at that point of no return, as I like to call it. 5 laps to go.
I wonder if we need to send the fans off since they helped us with stats earlier. Is this going to be the first 2-in-a-row win we've seen all season? If Callisto can hold on for 4 more laps.
So the chat room is now our statistician.
Hey, it's crowdfunding.
It's all the rage right now.
It's job security.
All right, he's coming up on the traffic of Dreiling. But he's only got 3 laps to go. He hasn't been closing at a fast rate. He almost could wait for him here if he really didn't want to mess with it. 2 to go now, penultimate lap. Oh, he gets a little bit of a curb. Callisto is pushing, leaving nothing on the track there.
It's down to 7/10, guys.
Smitty is gaining, but the white flag comes out. Callisto, 2 more corners to go. He won at Bristol. He made good on a short track in the stock cars, the big boys. Now he's in the super late model, and he's going to make it 2 in a row for the number 2. Callisto wins at Oxford Plains.
Nice. And Smitty does hold on to second place.
And celebrates with a nice drift. The 27 is happy about that, you can tell. Baldwin does round out the podium, and a number of drivers celebrating by making the jump off of the mounds. Wow, what a race. And
that was crazy.
Let's take a moment for Blake Reynolds. Where did he wind up, actually?
I've got Blake unofficially 11th.
Oh, he was absolutely dominating this race. If that incident didn't happen, I think Blake Reynolds had it in the bag, other than maybe a challenge from Callisto. So I want to give some credit to Blake Reynolds for what is honestly just some bad luck. But in the meantime, we're going to take a short break. If you look at the chaos there on track from above. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back. We'll rest our vocal cords. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. So don't go away.
Hi, my name is Donovan Johns. I'm the owner-operator of Volt Vapes here in Boise, Idaho. We opened our first location inside the Boise Town Square Mall in February of 2013. And our second location we opened up on the corner of Fairview and Milwaukee in May of 2013. One of the things that we specialize here is in the entry-level and mid-level range hardware and equipment for beginning vapers to really get the concept of vaping down and to feel confident in their education levels so they're not going to be inundated or overwhelmed with some of the higher end mods. One of the things we also do here is we have the build your own kits, which you can pick any of our entry-level, mid-level batteries and tanks and assemble it into your own kit so you can take home exactly what it is you're looking for when you leave the store.
Welcome back to Oxford Plains Speedway. We just watched round 11 of the Pacific Majors. It was the Volt Vapes 250. And boy, what a short track race we saw here. Lionel Callisto came away with the win. A little bit of luck, but a lot of skill and a lot of speed on his side to give him P1. Michael Smitty Smith, very happy with that result, as we confirmed over break. He reached out to us and was rather excited about that P2. Taft Baldwin rounds out the podium. He was there or thereabouts and managed to get there in the top three. Rob Gall, he finished in fourth, followed by Nicholas Hunt in fifth. Donovan Johns, nice run for him. He finished in sixth position, followed by Bob Beltrami, who was another guy that kind of hung around the top drivers, but definitely had his fair share of troubles throughout the race. He was seventh. Ethan Moore came home in eighth, followed by Drew Lalonde in ninth, and then Michael Thompson rounds out the top 10.
The man that we're going to feel bad for the most this evening, Blake Reynolds, 155 laps led tonight, going to finish in the 11th position. William Fletcher, 12th. Mark Herzog, the last car on the lead lap, finishing in 13th. Brian Bennett, Gary Nichols, your top 15. Carl Burke, Ray Partridge, he definitely, unfortunately, was not happy with people, certain drivers this evening, but he'll finish in the 17th position. Tom Dreiling going to finish 18th. Ryan Bird and Brian Barnes, your top 20.
21st was Wayne Hutchison. He was in the wars quite a bit. Kyle Murphy finishes in 22nd. We're getting cars multiple laps down now. Michael Lane finishes in 23rd, followed by Jared Morgan in 24th. Brett Trocine in 25th. Chris Beck in 26th. And Dee Palmer in 27th. Seth Alberts finished in 28th, followed by Richie Hearn with an unfortunate meatball flag, putting him down to 29th. Scott Kukas was 30th, followed by Gary LaViolette in 31st, Chad Barker in 32nd, and Mark Rediker, our last driver, in 33rd. Mike Willett was a did not start. He was race steward today here in the A-Main. With that said, let's go to our podium. Taft Baldwin is going to be the first one we're going to talk to. He was definitely fighting for those top positions all day long, and he looked very strong but could not get himself up into P1 at the end. Taft, tell us your thoughts about this type of racing, since it's the first time we've had this short of a track and this car this season.
I love short track racing. It takes me back to when I first started on iRacing and having to come up through the ranks where you get to spend a full season in a car. I used to love running the late model.
And so I take it the super late model is something that just is familiar to you. You certainly seem to handle it quite well out there.
Yeah, it is. Setting it up is kind of difficult. They could make the tires last. The car felt really, really good and gripped. It gripped so well for the beginning of the run, but after the tires got hot, everything felt slippery. The car just slid. The nose was sliding, the rear was sliding. It was hard for the long run.
Yeah, and talking about the tires, we saw a number of guys trying the Highline. What were your thoughts on that? Did it work with your setup, or were you immediately wanting to get down to that low side?
The low side was the best part of the track unless you had to use the high side. You could use it if the guy in front of you was holding you up that much. Otherwise, if the cars were even, it wasn't going to be advantageous to go up there.
Well, Taft, a podium is certainly going to help you in the championship with now 2 rounds left to go. Are you going to show up in these last 2?
Yeah, probably. I actually finished on the podium in every oval race this season except for the Brickyard, which I didn't get to make. So that's my accomplishment for the year. I could probably take the last 2 races off.
That is impressive, actually. Nicely done. Oval specialist here with Taft Baldwin. Yet another podium for him here in the Pacific Majors, 3rd place today at Oxford Plains. Up next, I believe that Chris is going to be talking to Smitty, who we might have to drag in here. I think he's still out celebrating. Actually, no, looks like he has showed up and is ready for interview room. So let's have Smitty talk to Chris.
Well, there's a reason why I brought goggles with me to this interview, because I know he's going to be spraying things all over the place. So I know he's definitely happy with the 2nd place run. We talked in a joking way before the race, and Smitty was like, yeah, just stay away from me tonight because I'm not going to have a good run, especially if you guys say anything. You finish 2nd. You got to be happy with that.
Oh, man. Couldn't be happier. To finish 2nd, and actually this time, as some of the guys I've joked with, I know Taft and I had joked in the practice how some of the couple of other ones I had were some things went my way. I think I feel like I earned this one. This one feels the best, even better than those other wins.
We did a great job with maintaining. You started in the 5th position and ran up there in the top 10 most of the race. Talk about the strategies, because there was a lot of coming and going. You had to pit to fall back into the top 20 and then work your way back through without getting in trouble.
Well, I think that was a big key for anybody to try to get to the end. There's a lot of people that had trouble. I feel terrible for Blake. Blake had a fast ride, and he once again he's out front there at the end. And I'm not sure exactly what happened with those guys trying to get going after the caution, but he got taken out. I feel for him on that. I got hit and I got involved in a couple of things, and I wasn't clean either. I'm not an angel. I got into the back of a couple of guys to try to get off of them, but things still happen. It's short track racing, and people check or they don't get on the right foot fast enough for what you're doing, and you get in the back of them, and then you check up, and someone gets in the back of you. There's a lot of that tonight, and so as you say, a lot of from the back to the front, go to the back again, and so on and so forth. As far as strategy goes, we got a little bit past halfway. A caution fell, and I figured that was about as good as time as any to get 4 tires.
Well, and it worked out for you, getting yourself a second place finish. How your thoughts on the racing and stuff out there with everybody being all over the place and the high groove going to work? It had to be kind of fun but scary.
Well, honestly, the racing was a blast. The racing was really, really fun. I mean, there at the end with Taft and I was just digging to try to beat him. He's been faster than me. Although that last run, I felt like I was able to pull him a little bit when I was running third for that last caution, so that gave me a little bit of confidence. But I started on the outside, and he was able to get inside, and that crossover worked. But we rode each other real hard there, and it worked out. It was a lot of fun. As far as the rest of the stuff goes, I think there's a few people that just kind of have to understand that certain things go on, and you kind of affect the rest of the race. To maybe take a step back a little bit and not do that so much.
Perfectly said, Smitty. Well, we'll let you get back to celebrating, and we congratulate on your second place run. If you got anything you want to say to anybody, go ahead.
I got to give a huge shout out to teammate Lionel for getting that win. I didn't have any tires left for him there anyway. We tried digging a little bit, didn't do it. But even more than that, Brian Bennett. Brian found the setup for us, and we tweaked it a little bit to suit us, but honestly, it was mostly out of the box good, and if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here right now. So I really appreciate Brian Bennett.
Absolutely, Smitty. Well, congratulations on your 1-2, and go celebrate with your teammate.
Alliance Racing, baby.
There you go, Joe. I believe you're in victory lane.
Yeah, with another Alliance racer, Lionel Callisto. Let's talk to him. You're in the number 2, and you've made it 2 in a row, Lionel. Would you consider yourself a short track specialist?
I guess. But major thanks to Alliance Racing, especially with Brian Bennett with the setup, and Smitty with the pointers on the setup. It was definitely a great win for Alliance. It was pretty fun, except for the yellows. But yeah, short track racing.
Well, you certainly proved to be quite adept at it thus far this season. Now, tell us a little bit about maybe the last 50 laps of the race. You were kind of hanging up and the top 5 for most of the race, but then it got to be down to just you and Blake at the end. You guys kept streaking away, but you never really seemed to challenge him for the lead. Were you waiting patiently for the end to maybe try to force an issue, or was it something where you really couldn't get by him?
I was trying to be patient at the beginning, but I started noticing the longer the run, it was harder for me to keep up with him. And then there's times I'll get close to his bumper, but just trying to set up the pass, it's almost impossible. He's definitely a faster car out there. Unfortunate what happened to him during the yellow flag, and he got wrecked. I didn't want to see that happen, honestly. Like, I wanted to race him to the end to see if I can get a pass through him. But it sucks. I hated to see that happen.
Yeah, talk to us about that incident there under caution, because you got a little bit of the action as well in there. What's your take on it?
We were checking up, and I don't remember who it was, but a couple guys spun out. But it's when they were coming back in the track, trying to straighten out, is when all the hectic break loose. I saw Blake ran right one of the cars, and then I was trying to avoid him, but unfortunately I got tangled up with a couple of cars.
Yeah, and it certainly seemed to mess with the lead battle. But it made things exciting at the end still with you and Smitty, and definitely a great moment for you taking 2 for 2. Now, there's no more oval rounds, but we've seen you be pretty handy on the roads. How do you feel about Road Atlanta coming up, and which car do you think you'll be driving?
I haven't even thought about that yet. I do like Road Atlanta, but we'll see. Just depends. Hopefully I can get a top 10. I'm all right at road courses. I know there's a lot of guys that are a lot faster than me. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a good finish. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, this is definitely going to be a day that's going to look good in the teams or the Constructors Championship for Alliance Racing, even though you guys are already leading. But any last words before we let you go?
Just major thanks to Alliance, Brian Bennett with the setup, and Smitty, and Fleishy, and a couple of friends of mine. They helped me out. Especially I was supposed to help my friend out tonight with the motor swap, but I had to do this. You understand that. Major thanks to those guys.
Well, if he complains at you, just send him a link to the broadcast and be like, this is why I didn't go to the motor swap.
It was fun. It was a fun race.
Oh, it was fun to call from our end. That was Lionel Calisto, our winner here at Oxford Plains Speedway. Second win in a row for the number 2. We're going to close up today. However, before we go, we need to thank a few people. Of course, we want to thank our sponsor, Volt Vapes, for helping put this series and this race on. And of course, thanks to Mike Willett for all the hours that he puts in organizing, as well as him stepping aside from the racing fun to be able to steward these races and make them a little bit cleaner. Thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast. You can see those listed on your screen. And additional thanks to our musical contributors, Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, whose music you can find at the websites listed. Casey also has a Patreon, if you've ever been to the Patreon website, where you can sign up and get work in progress stuff of his upcoming songs. Thanks today to Amjad, Trevor, and Chris and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and upcoming broadcasts. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. Next race, we mentioned it, it's going to be Road Atlanta, the Petite Le Mans. That'll be Sunday, October 12th at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. And guess what, Chris? It's going to be the return of the Predator format. That is going to be some exciting stuff. It always puts on thrilling racing. We also have upcoming races for other series on screen, so check out those and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.